Hello there, gentlemen. Long time no see. The blind man said to the elephant. Put a new flint in this bitch. Jeez. Really? Yeah, I fucking found some tobacco. This is the last bowl of one of the best tobaccos I've ever had. It's called cognac mixture. It's so fucking fire. Amazing. It's sweet, but it's smoky. Oh god, it's so good. It's expensive and hella rare. Uh, but anyway, and also this is my Dunhill. It's like a $400 English pipe, shell briar Dunhill. It's like what they made their name on, that and their cigarettes. Really? Hmm. Hmm. I stumbled upon this tobacco earlier. I couldn't believe that there was enough for a whole pipe. Hmm. Anyhow, you know, I've been noticing this last few weeks that hmm, fuck, that shit is good. God damn. I wish it wasn't so hard to get. Hmm. Anyway, I typically don't talk about dating on here, you know, because Nick doesn't talk about it very much, but today I wanted to go over a little bit of it just because I know there's some older cats in here that have families and shit and they're, way past that stuff. But it is going to affect your children. If people don't start having kids, it's going to be lonely as shit for anybody that has anybody's kids anyway. And I've been seeing a lot of people, first of all, a lot of articles coming out of the New York Times, USA Today, The Guardian in England, and asking why is Gen Z not dating and this and that, and which to me it's kind of obvious, but it's like they go through this same fucking ritual every generation or every few years where they figure out uh what they're going to call the next disaffected generation of males. Remember, it was incels before. They were incels. Ooh, involuntarily celibate. Now it's the looks maxers, fellas. They're looks maxers. They've taken that incel attitude and now they're self-absorbed and they're just worried about how they look and this and that. But they totally miss the entire essence of the problem. And in typical fashion, all these journalists, they're all women now. And it's so stupid. It sucks. It's bullshit that we have nobody in the establishment that represents us. Nobody. And it's obvious when you read any articles, they're all written by women, but not only that, the sentiment is always nagging men and just blaming shit on men as if we can do it, as if we can change anything. But it just I saw an article earlier called or they like the last few days, probably 30 of these articles have come out. So they all got their marching orders, obviously. 31% of Gen Z men believe wife should obey her husband, study finds. Just in time for, what is it, International Women's Day on March 8th or March 9th. It's like, what kind of a fucking stupid ass holiday? International Women's Day? International One Half of the Human Race Day. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. And also, they are a protected group, and like you they're the same as any other group. You can't talk shit about them on this platform on YouTube. They will bust your ass over that. Over like white women too, like as if they're some historically oppressed group. And it's basically just anybody who's not a white male, they will go to bat for you. They will ban people, they will censor people for anybody but us, basically. By the way, Nick is not doing a show tonight. Although he did put out an application um for people to he's hiring people for all kinds of different, for basically a political movement. A bunch of graphical design, accounting, this, that, and the other. So, I thought that was pretty cool, news anyway. And I seen another Better Bachelor, a guy that I subscribe to, and he's like a men's issues channel. And it was getting repetitive because he was always, he's had the channel for 7 years, and almost like 80% of all his videos have been TikTok shorts of women bitching into their phone, or fails, women failing, or women taking L's, women slutting themselves out and stuff. And it got kind of old. So, but he was saying, I haven't been getting subscribers in like a year. He's like, I hit up 480,000. That was it for like a year or two. He's like, and I'm starting to see that that's obviously because men are turning things around. Things are changing. Like I've been saying, the worm is turning. And, this article proves that, men are these Gen Z men are saying, no, you have to obey me. Like, and they're basically single men are offering women a choice. They're like, you either listen to me, I'm either the one in charge, I'm either the head of the household with the last say, or you can do it on your own. You could do it on your own. And what's great about it is they're not bluffing, and these women know they're not bluffing. They know for a fact these guys aren't bluffing, because they look at the other generations, they look at these women with no man that can't find a man to save their lives, and they're forced to accept that they don't get to have their cake and eat it too, like these other generations. They don't get to rule the roost, as it were, because men, they're they're turning it down because. And I heard a guy put this really well the other day. He said, men, they're not doing this. The reason why dating is in such rough shape is because a woman, there's literally nothing that you can do that will stop a woman from leaving you if she decides to. Doesn't matter how many kids you have, doesn't matter if you own a house together, it doesn't matter. They do not care. It's just not an issue. They just don't give a damn. They've been told their entire lives, you are the most important thing. Do what you think is right. Costs be damned. It doesn't matter if you destroy your children's life. Doesn't matter if you destroy a man's life. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're just bored and the guy is a good man. You do you. That is what these women have grown up with. And I got to be honest. I blame it on boomers, boomer fathers. They have raised these women with this insane uh princess deal, this whole princess personality or attitude. They've, you know, pushed them to go out and do their thing, spend their 20s slutting around. And, a lot of them are finding out the hard way that men just aren't playing that game anymore. Like, you're not going to spend your 20s, your best years, fucking off, failing or succeeding, whatever, while I'm saving, while I'm building myself up, while I'm building a life. You're not going to fuck off for a decade while I bust my fucking ass. All just for me to come in and rescue you from it. No, thank you. And really, it's kind of arrogant and and absurd for that these women ever thought that that was going to fly. Like, what did they think was going to happen? Did they think 30-year-old men were going to prefer 30-year-old women rode hard and put up wet? Like, a 30-year-old man is a young man. Why the fuck would he like the whole point, like you're supposed to marry a guy at 18, 20, you build with him. Then at 30, when your looks start to fade, his looks are still there. You kind of benefit, just like he kind of benefited. He didn't have a bunch of money in his early 20s and you were good looking. Well, these women, like, how absurd to think that they're just going to do their thing in the best years of their life. Then, when almost all their value is gone, they only got a couple of years of childbearing years left, that they're just going to all of a sudden, oh, I'm ready to settle down. And to think that that was going to fly. I mean, it's kind of like a slap. Like, it goes to this princess attitude, like that men are, and men, ever since I was born, I have had it beaten into me that women are special. Women, we must treat them with kid gloves. We must treat them special, in a special way because they're not men. And all men are taught that. And they imbibe it, they understand it, they deal with it, they live with it. Women are raised with no such ideas, no such rules. They're told men are beneath you. Men are servicing some patriarchy. They're bad. And you are a princess. You are perfect. You needn't change. You needn't improve. And what this ends up, well, what you end up with, the conclusion of that is that these women treat men like tampons. I mean, there is no other way to put it. And I know some of you guys have daughters, and I would hope that you did a good job raising them. I'm sure you guys did. But the idea that, it's so one-sided, so lopsided that I mean, like I was saying like a week ago, my like when I was younger and, got into little altercations with girls and stuff and always got these talkings to. Like I said, it builds resentment, but I also heard somebody saying that you know, boys are kind of emasculated by their mothers. They're like, this guy gave an example of his mom was obsessed with matching, clothes matching, and she would make him go back and change if he wasn't matching. And how a lot of boys, they just kind of they quit trying, they quit being contrary, they quit putting up a fight, they just accept it. Dealing with women, like they saw their fathers, that happy wife, happy life, that kind of attitude. And a lot of guys were brought up that way. And honestly, I gotta say, I'm kind of lucky. My mom just wasn't like that. My dad wasn't like that, not in the slightest. My dad he's just not that way. His dad wasn't that way. And I'm not that way. Neither are my brothers either. Like, I never, like, it's beaten into boys' heads that they need to listen to women, that what women have to say, it really matters. When we all know, not really. Most of it, not really. And I just was thinking last night, like, man, I'm lucky. Like, that didn't happen. Because, these boys end up having to unlearn all that stuff when they get into their adult years because women don't want a whipped dog. They don't want that. They just don't. They want a masculine guy that's going to lead. That's not just going to fold like paper. A lot of good it did me, not, but I kind of enjoyed that thought for a minute that I did that wasn't me. But it's just like the way that I think a lot of it has to do with the way that boomers and post boomers raise their children. Because all of a sudden women were looking at having jobs and careers, and their fathers, even my mom's dad was, kind of pushed them to have careers, but their fathers raised them a certain way, and it's produced really bratty, really bitchy, really impossible. There's no pleasing them. There's no pleasing them. I mean, and 80% of the divorces are from women. What does that say? I mean, that's there's no pleasing them. And we've all seen it. And we've seen the YouTube, the TikTok videos of women saying, "Yeah, I just got out of a divorce. My husband, he's actually a really good guy. I divorced the good guy." Like they openly say this shit. And it's just like, what the hell? And this whole idea of women saying, "I don't want to settle. I don't want to settle. I'm not settling." Well, actually, by definition, if you get married, you are settling. Because with 8 billion humans on the planet, what are the odds that you are with the most perfect person on the planet? That there's nobody out there better for you? It's impossible. There's somebody out there better for you than, even if you have the perfect wife or perfect husband, there is a better there is a better choice out there somewhere. So by definition, you are settling. Like, but they're saying, "I'm not going to settle." And what they end up with is nothing. They end up with no consolation prize. They play the game, but they refuse to, they refuse to accept the win. They keep playing like a slot machine, and then they end up with nothing. Especially these women that get divorced in their 40s. I don't know what they're thinking. Like, yo, like anybody who tells you it's a good idea to divorce at 40, like the dating market's so great, they sold you a bit some bullshit, because like you're out of gas, sweetheart. You're 40. You're over the hill. You're out of gas. Like and they're struggling. Like, and the idea that, nature, by, over the hundreds of thousands of years, nature decided that it takes two people to raise children. It takes two. It's settled on two people. And it's just like this gobbledygook bullshit that the West has produced. Like, oh, women can do it all on their own, when we know for a fact they can't. They're struggling. Like, I see all the time these women crying because they're alone, or they're struggling for bills and this and that. Because, yeah, it's almost impossible to raise a kid by yourself properly. Like, you can't, think about all the, like, it's substandard care is what those children get, because instead of having two sets of eyes, where if your mom's cooking, your dad can watch you. If your mom's cooking, nobody's watching you. If you're in a single parent household, I mean, that anybody ever tried to fool themselves into thinking that one parent is ideal is insane. And not only that, but it's less than ideal, but not on, they don't choose men. A lot of men go without having kids, go without getting married. And you'd think like, yeah, well, at least those men aren't paying for a family, except they are. The state, we have all these single mothers. The state reaches into all of our pockets and takes the money to support those other men's kids. They take our money. We're paying to support other men's kids. I don't have kids. My genes aren't going into the future, at least not as of yet. But somehow I'm still paying taxes for somebody else's. And it's like, what the fuck? It's just, they figured out how to, it's like, what do they say? Heads I win, tails you lose, kind of a thing for women. They figured out how to come away from every situation with the money. Like every situation. And men just, it's obvious men just aren't playing the game anymore. Like, yo, you've made it to where we can't win the game. There's nothing I can do to stop you or to convince you to stay. So, and men are just like, nah, I'm good. They're not doing it. And women, they keep saying, oh, these men want us to chase them. These men want us to chase them. No, no, no. They have it all wrong. It's not that men want them to chase them. They want these women to prove that they're worthwhile. Like, yo, sweetheart, I'm not going to date you unless you go out of your way to show me you're not like these other women. because and that's exactly how I feel. It's like they're like, why don't men approach us anymore? Because women in the aggregate, on the whole, it's not a good deal anymore. You have to show yourself that you're an individual and you're not like the rest of them, more or less. And they just don't seem to get that. And it's like they never have an intro, they never take a minute to look like all these articles. How can we blame men? What group of men do we need to blame? Who's to blame for all this stuff? They never once consider that they never once consider that they may have contributed to the problem. It's amazing. Like we if things don't change, the West as a society, it's not going to exist in a few years. Like, and I think people they assumed, oh well, if our birth rate goes down, we'll have time. Nobody thought that it would just drop off. No, I don't. No, I'm not married. But nobody thought that it was just gonna boom, all of a sudden, boom. Like nobody, like they say, 50% of women above the age of 30 don't have kids or some shit like that. Nobody thought it was gonna happen this fast. Everybody, you think it's gonna be a slow decline. Well, with this birth rate shit, it's not slow at all. It's like it just happens like the snap of a fingers. And nobody saw it coming. And all of a sudden, everybody's like really worried about it. And to me, it's awful. But I think to myself, if they think that they're going to screw men over, or it's like what's good for the gander, or what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If they try to screw men, they only screw themselves too, because we're joined at the hip. And it blows my mind that anybody ever thinks that they're going to like skirt the consequences, that somehow they're going to avoid the consequences. It's like, no, you're not. You're not. Every guy that doesn't get married, that's a woman that doesn't get married. Like, did they not realize that? And I keep hearing these articles. They're saying, women are hypergamous, and if we're going to succeed, because they 57% of women are getting all the college degrees, which I saw today that the IQ of people in college has been steadily declining since the 40s until now. It's the same as the average IQ of America. And literally since the 40s, it's been dropping steadily. They're like, oh, you make more money if you go to college. So everybody go to college because you'll make more money. Not realize it's like, no, college isn't what makes people more money. It's that they know more and they have more marketable skills. Like I was taking a shower and I was thinking, golly, humans are this fucking stupid that they didn't see this coming. Like, seriously, the people we have running our society and our civilization, they're fucking average at best. They're stupid. He didn't see this coming. Oh, if we shoehorn women into all the positions of the world in the industries, oh, everything will just be peachy keen. Everybody will be making twice as much money. Like, no, that's not how that works. That's not how math works. You you shoehorn them in, it's gonna water down everybody else's wages. And it's like these things that seem really obvious to me. Apparently, they're not that obvious because it's like nobody saw this shit coming. All these things that are happening now, everybody's acting all surprised about it. And it's like, how can you be surprised about this? If you tell women to go pursue a career for their 20s and fuck off and slut around, don't worry about having kids. Did you just think that things were going to carry on like normal? It's as if they think what happens just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people do, doesn't matter what people think, how they behave. Things will just keep going all right. We'll continue to survive as a species. America will continue to kick ass. Like, bro, what fucking planet do you live on? What reality do you live in? Do you even think? Do you even reason? Like, bro, how could this shit have snuck up on us? Like, seriously, How could this have snuck up onto us? It's obvious to my mind. In this article, I did want to read this article. I wanted to rant for a minute, just a vent, but it says, what percentage of Gen Z men support traditional gender roles? How does this study reflect global gender? Oh, no, that's not the beginning of the study. About one third of Gen Z men across 29 different countries believe a wife should always obey her husband. A new study out of Paris found. Just in time for International Women's Day on March 8th. An International Women's Day study published by Paris based multinational market research and consulting from Ipsos found that of 23,268 surveyed adults, 31% of Gen Z men agree that a wife should always obey her husband. This figure is more than double the response of the 13% of men who are baby boomers. Across the board, male Gen Z participants consistently responded with more traditional views about gender roles. As outlined in the survey 57% of Gen Z men agreed we have gone so far in promoting women's equality that we are discriminating against men. Yeah, duh. And 59% of men are expected to do too much to support equality. No shit. They're expected to hand over their fucking livelihood and their lives and their futures. Uh, Too much to support equality. These figures differed from older participants, as 42% of male baby boomers agreed gender equality is leading toward discrimination of men, and 45% agreed men are expected to do too much and to support equality. The new study comes as dialogue continues to ramp up about young men's involvement, specifically in the United States and the manosphere. Websites, videos, and forums that promote male supremacy. Male supremacy? You mean the natural order? How things were 150 years ago? Or 100 years ago? Yeah. How God intended? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Um, and advocate for traditional gender roles. Manosphere figureheads like content creator Andrew Tate, a self described misogynist, believe women are responsible for men's romantic rejection. No shit. Low self esteem and economic insecurity. Here's a deeper look at the Ipsos study, including how it was conducted and what countries participated. Young men display traditional values of their own behavior. In addition to their expectations of women, Gen Z men also reported the highest responses for traditional physical, mental, and emotional expectations of themselves. The Ipsos study found that 43% of Gen Z men believe young men should try to be physically tough, and when it came to more emotion centric prompts, 32% agreed men should figure out problems on their own before asking for help. No shit. Being self sufficient is a staple of being a man. How was the study conducted? Conducted in 29 countries, a survey distributed on Ipsos Global Advisor platform and in India on Ipsos India Bus platform. The survey was conducted between December 24th, 2025 and January 9th, 2026. The study's technical notes outline. The study asked participants 13 questions about their attitudes towards gender equality, freedom, and the future, and gender roles. Some questions asked participants to rate how much they personally agreed or disagreed with statements, while others asked what participants thought others believed. Other questions asked participants to rate whether men or women have more of a choice over various circumstances, such as roles in the household, hobbies had during free time, and romantic relationships. Ipsos defined Generation Z as individuals born between 96 and 2012. Millennials is born between 80 and 95. Gen Z is born between 66 and 79, and boomers between 45 and 65. What countries participated? Thailand, Indonesia, India. Well, that's crazy. It's even the ones that really aren't a part of the West. Thailand, Indonesia, India, Mexico, Chile, Singapore, Malaysia, Colombia, Peru, Argentina, Africa, South Korea, Brazil, Netherlands, Spain, etc., etc. United States, France, Japan. Japan represented the largest sample size with about 2,000 participants, along with Australia and blah, blah, blah. Um, Countries with stricter gender roles reflected in survey. Study organized participant responses by gender, generation, and country of origin. Across the board, responses from the United States tended to be in the middle of the pack when it came to more traditional gender roles and expectations. As for countries with the highest responses tied to their roles or these roles, 80% of male participants from Thailand agreed gender equality efforts discriminate against men, compared to 40% of men in the United States and 70% of male participants in Brazil and India agreed men are expected to do too much for equality, compared to 44% of men in the United States. These responses reflect the historically strict gender roles enforced in these countries. And honestly, well, that sentiment, it makes perfect sense. Men are getting an absolutely raw deal, but not only are men getting a raw deal, society is breaking down. Something serious. It's coming apart at the seams. The fucking wheels are coming off the damn thing. You know, like it's it's disintegrating before our very eyes. You know, you between contraceptives like the pill, baby killing, and divorce or no fault divorce, that it's done. The family, there people aren't starting families. People aren't even dating to get married anymore. And it's like, well, something has to change. And now all of a sudden, people aren't calling these men misogynists right off and bashing them and attacking them and trying to, you know, ostracize them, because even feminists are looking this dead in the face like, oh shit, yeah, we're not going to exist in 30 or 40 years. Like, there's going to be no feminism. There's going to be none of that shit. It's like, and I see these things like, oh, you know, women are hypergamous, which means they want to date up. They want to date a guy who makes more than them, who's higher than them socially. That's what they want. And a lot of these articles written by women, you know, naturally, their idea is women are just going to have to date down. And I'm thinking to myself, you realize that that's not going to happen, right? That's not going to happen. There's nothing we can do when it comes that is a non-starter. That's not even an option. Because if you ask women, are they willing to date the guy? Are they willing to date these guys? It's not an option. They won't do it. They will not do it. So the answer is somewhere else. It damn sure ain't women dating down. And of course, these women, they, you know, I'm thinking of different answers. That's the answer they're thinking, because they're like, you know, gee, we've collected a lot of nice stuff that we stole from men. And sure would be nice if we could keep some of it, you know. It, like, you know, we've kind of had to put a lot of effort in to steal this stuff from those men. So their idea is, well, maybe, you know, we're just gonna have to make a sacrifice and go with the guy who makes a little less money than us. Nah, that ain't gonna happen. First of all, women ain't gonna go for that shit. No, these women, they're just gonna have to give up their girl boss. You know, that's over. Them days are over. They're gonna have to give that shit up. Like, yo, it's not working. You know, and it doesn't make me necessarily feel good to say that either. And that's the thing is, these numbers are so serious and things are going so badly. It's like nobody's happy. It's like something needs to change here. This shit ain't working. You know, feminism, it worked for a few years, you know, until they stole enough from men, you know, until they ground men into the dirt with their fucking high heels. But it's going to take something more drastic than that. Like, it just is. Women aren't going to date down. And the whole idea of these, you know, going to college and this, blah, 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 that shit's over. It don't work. It doesn't work. You know, not only were they fucking men 10 ways from Sunday, but it was going to be the doom of us all, basically, of our society. All the work for the million years before now. Think about all the work that was done to get us to this point, to get the West to this point. Bro, people were having babies in the fucking Black Plague, man. Like when people say, ooh, the economy's so tough, housing prices, that's why nobody's having kids. It's like, you do realize people were having kids when the Black Plague was going on, when literally the streets were littered with bodies. People were still having kids. All the artwork that came out of Europe in the during the plague, Bro, it's filled with nothing but skeletons. The artwork, the paintings. Have y'all seen that shit? Or it has like that weird death figure that has the pointy nose and shit. Bro, that is how bad it was, bro, where there was no humans couldn't escape death. It's on such a scale that everything they did, death was a part of it. When they painted a picture, when they drew something, they included death as an anthropomorphic figure, as like human form, as if it was a person. You feel me? Like, bro, can you imagine that? Where death is so it's so pervasive, it's so everywhere that people are including it figures, human form figures like the Grim Reaper or something, shit like that. They're including death in media, like paintings, whatever. They're including that shit. Bro, that is rough. They were still having kids. And the idea that housing prices are going to get in between people and having kids is just insane. That makes zero sense. Because, the instinct to have children, that's pretty serious, that you can't just ignore that. And like the fact that women or that our society has gotten so bad for men that men are just staying home, they're not participating. It's like, wow, you guys have made this so bad that you have overridden men's natural instinct to procreate. Yeah, that's like the strongest instinct we have other than like eating, you know? And they overwhelmed that to where it's such a poor deal that they're offering men, that men are just opting out altogether. And I know what the deal is. Men are saying, yo, you're not in the right headspace. You're not right emotionally and mentally to be dating right now. And the women are like, what are you talking about? Yes, I am. I've been working on myself. I've been going to therapy, this and that. And it's like, no, 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 no. Your attitude, your idea on how you want to live life. No, it's not working. Because like I said, these women, all they think about is themselves. When they consider their next life move, or when they consider anything, the number one consideration in that is themselves. And they might ask their friend, oh, like I heard this woman the other day, like, yeah, this guy asked me out and this and that. He's saying we should really date. And I'm like, no, we shouldn't, And she's like, yeah, he was just, too nice, like one of those guys, this and that. And the girl's like, well, you do you, her friend. And it's like, what kind of a shitty friend is that? That just like, that's self-destructive. You're turning down the good men because they're not assholes enough. What kind of a friend lets you get away with that without questioning you about that, without kind of scratching a little deeper, a little bit, deeper below the surface? You know what I'm saying? Like, but these women, they've trained themselves, they've trained their friends, like, to always affirm, never make me feel bad about a decision I've made. Make me feel good about it. That way I continue to make, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have such toxic culture right now. I don't even think it's their fault, really. It's what they've had shoved down their throats since they come out the womb. We had a different message shoved down our throats, but what's up, Alex? We've had a different message, but they've had this insane, women weren't told that before. They were told, the best thing in life is to have a family to care for, have kids, have kids that you can raise and look after. And, that will be your greatest source of satisfaction. Today, they're being told their greatest source of satisfaction is sitting at a desk, pushing paper. Like, seriously though, or sitting at their desk at home on a computer with a mouse jiggler pretending to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're not having kids. They think they can wait for 10 years, wait all their prime, just fucking off, messing around with guys that are no good for them, and that they can wait till the very last minute and then squeak it in when they're 30, and they somehow, nobody told them, hey, men aren't gonna go along with that, or men, like, don't expect to do that, and that guys are gonna be waiting for you, or the guys that you pushed away and said, nah, nah, that you wouldn't date or wouldn't take seriously, that you friend zone. Don't expect those guys to be waiting for you. The guys who you should be expecting are the guys that are no good. Those are the guys that'll be waiting for you at 30, if any at all. And like, they were told, you'll have time, you'll have time. And honestly, I think that's because what I think is kind of really should be like it's a travesty. They were advocating that these young women, this generation of women, should do a thing that no other woman had experienced or had actually done themselves. Mothers and stuff yeah, go get a career, go do this and that, because I always felt bad that I didn't have a career, whatever, that old story from like the housewives from the 50s. That's what they would say. But it's like, you actually haven't done what you're telling these young women to do. You don't actually know what will happen if they do what you're telling them to do. Feminists, you think you're giving them good advice because, and they're so fucking arrogant to think that women and men are the same and that they are satisfied by the same things. They enjoy the same. It's bullshit. It's like, when did they honestly think? Did they even think that men liked working 40 hours a week? What the fuck were they thinking? That they would enjoy working 40 hours? Even we don't enjoy that shit. It's like, we do what we have to. Like, nobody else is going to support us and our families or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody else is going to do that. It's up to us. And somehow they like got envious and jealous that we were like struggling on the yoke of a family. Like, what the fuck? And they wouldn't listen to men. Oh, you and your patriarchy, this and that. Well, the fact of the matter is, nobody invented our society or our civilization. Nobody invented that shit. Nobody sat down and drew this out and, like, drew it out and like drew up plans like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it, fellas. We're gonna fucking subjugate those bitches. They've been ruling the roost for too long. We're gonna subjugate these cunts. We're gonna put them under the yoke, man. And if they get in our line, we're gonna crack the whip, man. Like, what fucking what childish minds you must have that you think life is like this fucking cartoonish, like Johnny Bravo game, fucking Powder Puff Girls. Like, what are you, stupid? Obviously. Like, to honestly think that. Like, really? Nobody invented this shit. We're all just doing what was handed down to us to do. You know what I mean? Like, nobody invented this. We're just doing what the people before us did. There's no generation of men that designed this culture. Nobody sat down and drew, oh, we're going to make the patriarchy, fellas. We're going to rule this. No, that didn't happen. What did happen, though, what did get sat down and drawn out and, frameworks built up, and feminism, that did get drawn out of the table. That was, oh, these guys have been ruling the roost for too long. We're gonna stick it to them, ladies. We're gonna stick it to them. And if they say anything about it, we're gonna crack the whip. That did happen. That did take place. I've seen it. I've watched fucking Betty Friedan or whatever that stupid Jew had to say. That stupid ass bitch. And then what's her name? Gloria Steinem, that dumbass. Like, it's like, how stupid are you? That you know better than all the people that came before you. That you can do it better. You're fucking pissant little minuscule fucking pea brain ass compared to thousands of humans brain. Like, the human intelligence in the aggregate, it's like a poly market or the betting odds. That is human intelligence in the aggregate. No one human being is smarter than everybody all put together. That's just no. But these people are so fucking arrogant, man, that they think that they know better than all the geniuses that lived before them. Like, and that those people when they were living their lives, or even people that own slaves, that those people, when they were living their lives, they were just evil, plotting and knowing and and deliberate. These people were deliberately evil. No, no, they weren't just living life the best they knew how. They weren't just trying to get by. They weren't just doing the best they could with the means at their disposal. They were evil, disgusting humans that I am better than, and that I'm going to, to excise out of polite historical culture. You know what it's like? They tore down all the statues of the founding fathers, as if we have evolved since the 1700s, and that they aren't exactly the same as those men and women were back then. Like the arrogance, man. It's like they think that they're better than humans 1,000 years ago. We're smarter than humans 1,000 years ago. I'm here to tell you that is just about the stupidest thing ever. To think that, like, how arrogant, how self-absorbed those people were. Extreme. They were just as intelligent, if not more intelligent than we are. I mean, don't let all the tech and all the inventions, don't let that shit fool you. We are no smarter than any other humans for 100,000 years. I can assure you of that. And, we're kind of like, honestly, we're just building on what came before. You know, nobody today invented the fucking wheel. Nobody today invented the telephone. Nobody today invented simple machines, or the ramp, the fucking the axle, the screw. Like, nobody invented that shit today. None of these people. They took inventions that somebody else made and they tweaked it a little bit and presented that. That's what those. It's like, I read Jurassic Park when I was younger, and that's what Ian Malcolm said. He said, "Look, you think you're fucking like gods or something because you figured out how to clone people. Well, listen, let me dispel that real quick. You stood on the shoulders of giants. You added one little ingredient. You came up with something profound, and then you packaged it. You fucking, you gift wrapped it, then you marketed it and you sold it. You fucking, you capitalized on it. You turned it into a fucking a lunchbox. A themed lunchbox, which they did in that book. Jurassic Park. They did make lunchbox with it, but it's like, it just it's almost, to me, it's like, man, if this civilization, if they have no modesty, we have no modesty, no humility, no respect for the people that came before us, the people that gave us the things that we built upon. Talking shit about, like, Thomas Jefferson. Oh, he owned slaves. Yeah, he also contributed to everything that makes your life, enjoyable. And it's like these, it's so arrogant. It's so ungrateful. It's so ungrateful to, to literally tear these guys out of the pages of history. And like, these people, they think like, oh, they don't even stop and think, maybe life was different back then. Maybe it was tougher. Maybe, maybe I'm just too comfortable. Maybe there's too much an abundance mindset. I'm too fat, or I don't know what it's like to go hungry. No, why doesn't nobody ever calls anybody about, like, or calls them to the carpet, like, yo, you're, how dare you? How dare you judge people in the past? And the thing is, how these people, like Foucault, piece of shit, homo, how these people judge the past, that is exactly how the future will judge them. How they judge slave owners, how they judge Thomas Jefferson, that is exactly how they will be. Judge not, for ye be will judge your, in the same way. how they judged all those people that came before them. How do you think the future is gonna? How do you think the future is going to look back on transgenderism? They're going to look back and say, how disgusting. They're going to rip those sons of bitches right out of history. All the people that push that shit, they're going to rip them right out of history. That's so disgusting. You know, I mean, it's barbaric to say the least. To say the least. And they're going to be judged for it in the end. We're going to be judged for it in the end. We're going to be judged for all this shit. And it's starting to come to a head too. No, we may not be judged for it, at least not by our posterity. We may not have a fucking posterity. Like, seriously, it's, you know, every day, the odds that we'll have a posterity gets a little bit slimmer. Every day gets a little darker. And, you know, I mean, it's in 10 years, unless we've changed something, who knows? Like it may not be recoverable. And like, I was thinking about this too, like, you know, even like we can import as many people as we want. Legitimately, we've been doing that. We can import people from all over the world. We may as well set up a sign in front of our borders and shit that says, overpopulation control. You know, you have a country where people are breeding too fast, send them over here. Because we'll make sure that their genetics die with them. This is the land where genetics go to die. This is the society where genetics go to die. Give us all your extra people, you know, because we're population control. No need to take the pill. No need to get a vasectomy or get your tubes tied. Just come on over to America. We guarantee you won't make it into posterity. Your genes will die with you. Like, that is the culture we've set up for ourselves. It's wild, man. And to think that there's still people trying to defend this shit. It's like, bro, keep defending it. You know, your feminism will die with you then. I mean, all the things that we think are so great about the West, they're going to die with us if we keep pushing this toxic shit. And honestly, I mean, all these articles I've been reading and all these videos I've been seeing about it, it's like, well, maybe things will change. Maybe they're actually getting serious about this. Maybe they actually, because like I said, they tried the immigration thing. They realized, whoa, that's not an option, because we really are just going to replace ourselves. And even that's not going to work. Like, we can do that all we want. America is probably still not going to be here. It doesn't matter if we keep replacing the population with new people. They're not going to carry the torch. It's like, either we fix it now or that's it. You know, either we fix it, like actually fix it, not just quick Band-Aid fixes. That's like the choice. And there are people in England that are the same way, that are like, yo, we have to fix this. We can't just import people. Like, this actually has to change. And we don't have it as bad as them, but it's like pretty bad, you know? All these people like, oh, I'm going to college. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be an attorney. I'm going to be an accountant. I'm going to be a doctor. Well, it's not going to matter if we don't start having kids soon, because there ain't going to be enough population for you to have a fucking job. There's going to be a dearth of people with college degrees that are totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. Yeah, we need doctors as long as we replace ourselves. As long as, you know, our population grows, we need more of everything. But as soon as the population starts contracting, no, we need less of everything. No, don't go to college. Please don't. It's a waste of your money. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're getting to here. That is what we're getting to. Like, lawyers, I heard somebody break it down where they were talking about, if you include all the debt that people go into to get their law degrees, they make like $8,000 a year for like the first decade or more. Like, if you factor in the tax, it may as well be a tax, the debt, the loan stuff. And it's like, man, it just kind of blows my mind how it's like we were asleep at the wheel, man. Making changes too. It's not like we were asleep at the wheel with autopilot on. No. We were legitimately driving deciding where the car goes, and choosing to go down the way of death, to go down the fucking crazy back street with all the seedy characters in the hoodies and shit. Like, hello. They like fell asleep at the wheel while they were, driving in like rush hour traffic at 5 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, bro, how did our leaders let this happen? How are they this stupid? How is that possible? I mean, it just reinforces to my mind the law of averages. Half of everybody is below average. Somehow these people have been getting in control of things. And really, you know, I think a lot of it has to do with women getting into leadership positions, women, like they say, the feminization of industries and culture. And that's not that I'm saying women are stupid, but they're feelings led. They're feelings led. We all know this. Women know this. You know, we all know this. Everybody knows this. It's like, we may as well just give up, let go of the pretenses. We're not benefiting anybody. We're not doing anybody a service by hush hush whispering about this shit. They know it, we know it, everybody knows the differences between the genders. And us pretending like that doesn't exist, it's just making our future bleaker. It's just making it that much harder for us to correct this fuck up. That's all it's doing. It's just the sooner that we wake young girls up and stuff like, yo, that stuff they were just teaching you, it's total bullshit. The sooner that we let go of this bullshit, the better it is going to be for everybody. The sooner that we publicly start accepting that, yeah, there is a difference between women, and there's a reason why women are more emotional. It's not a derogatory, it's not a negative thing. I'm not bashing women. I'm just saying women are meant for something different than men are. Women are emotional because they need to be, and they're a little bit more concerned with themselves because they need to be. Because when they have a kid, their number one concern has to be that infant, because babies die if you don't, you know, give them everything they want. If you don't, you know, just tend to them constantly. There's a reason why women are that way. They have to be this way. If women were any other way, human beings wouldn't exist. The way that they are is the reason why we're here today. The way that men are is the reason why we are here today. The instincts that men have, the instincts that women have, the behaviors that we have naturally, those things are a direct cause of me being here right now, you being here right now, everybody being here right now. If women weren't that way, human beings would not have survived. If men weren't the way nature and evolution, that shit, that's the way it works. Only the right way, like everybody, we exhibit the behaviors that work. And if we don't, we're a mutant and we die off. That's the way it works. So the way everybody is the way we're supposed to be. And acknowledging that, that's not slander. That's not an attack. Like, thank God women are that way. Right now, we've gotten a little off course, but I'm just sick and tired of people pretending that nature, that natural. Oh, I see. My internet sucks right now. Mm, fucking Nick, what a douchebag. Hmm, I didn't know that. I never seen any Tesla quotes. It's interesting. I mean, they're not going to take over the world. Human beings own the world. That includes men and women. You know, men may get the men may get the last word in a household, but that's not to say that women don't get an equal say. Anybody who thinks that because men make the ultimate decision at the end of the day, that women don't get a say, doesn't understand, has never seen a family in the wild. Anybody who thinks that women don't control the world by 50% naturally doesn't understand nature, doesn't understand human beings, doesn't understand animals. Women get their say, whether men like it or not. You know, it's like they get their say at the end of the day. There's those sayings like there's a good woman behind every man, or what is it? Every leader or every successful man, there's a good woman. Those are sayings for a reason. They're not just, you know, uh, a lark, you know, just saying things for the fucking hell of it. That's ridiculous. That's not how that shit goes. Women get their say. They have all the children. To think that they don't get their say. Anybody with a mother will tell you that mothers influence their kids. That's a say. Hmm. Yeah, women, they get their say. Anybody with a mother will tell you they get their say. It's like women have all the kids. To think that they don't have a say in the way mankind carries on, that's ridiculous. They raise all of us pretty much. They instill beliefs. It's stupid to think that, okay, women don't have a public authoritative office appointed to them by some government or something, but yo, they have every single human being on this planet. They were birthed by a woman. That woman has a say in how that kid is raised, has huge influence. Women have almost all of the say when it comes to influencing children. That's a say. They decide how all of us think in the future. You know, men get their say too, but the same thing with everything. Women get their say, men get their say as well. But the difference is women have a job like for labor, for participating in society. Women have a role, men have a role. They're different. But to think like, you know, things have a way of equalizing, you know, and when people, it's just this feminism shit is the same thing as communism. Communism, they set out to remake men, remake human beings. You know what? We don't like the way society was set up before. It's with all, you know, noblemen and, you know, capitalism. It's everybody's getting screwed by the rich people. So we're gonna change things. We're gonna do it better. We know better. So they like tear down a society, rebuild it, and in all different ways that are totally untested, totally absurd. They implement that shit and it completely fails. And the only reason why it carried on as long as it did is because they put a gun to everybody's head and said, "Yeah, you're gonna participate, or we're gonna put a bullet in your head." And pretty much the same thing with feminism. I mean, or at least, you know, it finally came to a head. But they like people. I just don't understand how people can think with something so complex as society, civilization, that any generation thinks that they can do it better. Like, how can a whole generation think that, much less a single woman or man? Like, this shit is beyond absurd. It's beyond arrogant. It's beyond stupid. You got to be a dumb motherfucker to think you can do it better than nature. Like, and to think you can do it, that's like a slap in nature's face. Like saying, you know what, it's not that complex. I could do it better. This isn't a miracle. This is easy. I can do this. I could come up with a better civilization than this. Like, bro, could you be any more brain dead? Are you smoking fucking crack over there, bro? Like, what the hell? Are you like, it's just so dumb, man. Like, of all, and you know, that's what the mathematics of chaos theory is about. You know, with any complex system, it's impossible to make any predictions, you know, into the future, any length of time in the future. And that's what Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park was, a chaotician. And what that, you know, what he was saying was, with stuff this complex, he did the droplet on what's her name's hand. He's saying stuff with this complex, there are so many different variables that you can't possibly predict what's going to happen. Like he said, with her skin, he goes, I'm going to drop the water on your hand, and we'll see which way it rolls. Then he goes, which way do you think it's going to roll again? She goes, same place. He goes, well, let's see. And he drops it down, and he goes, oh, it went to the left. Went totally different way. And he goes, that's because little micro movements, little blood vessels have changed since I did the first drop. And those changes are going to, it's just like this. When you play pool and you hit the cue ball, or or you hit the cue ball and it hits another ball, if you're off at all, when it first hits that other ball, the more it rolls, the more it goes off course. You know what I'm saying? If you hit a cue ball and you hit it directly straight, but you're off slightly, at first you're not off that much, but the further and further it rolls, the more and more and more it gets off its original path. Correct? I mean, obviously, that's what the chaos theory is saying is, look, any change whatsoever over time is going to produce huge disparities, huge. And over enough time, it's like ridiculous. It just be the ball's going to end up hundreds of yards away from the other cue ball or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, that's the way that's stuff. And it's a great theory. It's true and it's realistic. Like these things, and that's what he was saying about Jurassic Park. You have such a complex system set up to hold these dinosaurs in their cages that there's no way that you can predict with any sort of accuracy what's going to happen, or all the potential pitfalls. You can't. It's impossible because there are so many variables. And the more variables there are, the more of a fucking crapshoot it is. The less you have, the likelihood you can understand the outcomes. And that's basically what that book was trying to get across, was like, look, this stuff is so complex. It's like the weather. You know how the weather is when the weatherman, they're like, they'll give you like, they come up with all those models for hurricanes, or they give you a cone. They give you or an area, a path of destruction or whatever. And it's like this huge area. That's because any slight change in the weather will cause that hurricane to end up someplace totally different. And every day, like, I live in Florida, so there's a lot of hurricanes. Every day, the forecast for a hurricane is almost totally different because it's such a complex. It's so complex that even the most minor changes cause drastic differences in conclusion. And that's like our society and these fucking arrogant people that think like they're smart enough to even fathom the shit at play. Like, no, not at all. You're not even close to smart enough to even come close to grasping this shit. And it's like, and especially like with this feminism, nobody knew that everything was going to end up with us, basically the idea that we would just go extinct. Nobody would have guessed this. Nobody. We would have never set out on this endeavor. If anybody had any idea or any reasonable idea that this was going to happen, people would have not been so stupid and so just kind of rushing into it. They would have been a little bit more careful. Same thing with the birth control pill or abortions or no fault divorce. If anybody knew this is where it was going to lead, they wouldn't have done it. And really, it's not just one of those things. I think just the pill, we would have kept going. Just no fault divorce, we would have kept going. It was all three of them combined that did us in. Nobody considered that, with the pill, you're decoupling sex from procreation. Now it's not procreation isn't tied to sex anymore. It's just a fun activity now. And you have kids when you decide to have kids. And then even if that doesn't work, you still have abortions. So instead of, shotgun weddings and getting married to legitimize a child, or getting pregnant out of wedlock, why get married to legitimize that child when you can just go to the doctor and have them get rid of it? Why not? Why get married when your wife can leave you at the drop of a hat for a fleeting caprice that she has? So nobody's, and is all those things converging all together. And it's like either we're going to reel this shit back in, and it's basically too late for me. So I'm not like standing on a soapbox like, you know, advocating for making decisions so that I benefit. I'm not fooling myself here. The likelihood that anything anybody does is going to, benefit me is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm in my mid 30s. It's pretty much over. I mean, I guess there's some hope, but I don't hold out for it. I just don't. It's just like just same as the other 80% of men in America. And the women too, for that matter. They're all alone too. And it's not my fault. It's all the propaganda that was shoved down these women's throat. You know, uh, Telling them lies upon lies upon lies. Convincing them that all of the structure and the framework of our civilization, all these things that undergird America, the West, having starting families, or even like shotgun weddings, and that comes from the shame from getting pregnant out of wedlock. You got mercilessly shamed for that shit. So people would get married, they would elope or whatever. They would get married, when nobody was looking, and then, oh yeah, yeah, we got pregnant on our honeymoon, like that was a part of the West. A lot of stuff was they fed, and all that stuff was holding our civilization up. It was literally the fucking scaffolding holding our civilization up. But to women of the 60s, Betty Friedan, to her, that was oppression, you see. By who? I don't know, but I guess nature or God. I guess, that's the deal. Because to think that men were oppressing women is ridiculous. You mean women were like men were being oppressed by the society? Like, all the men that worked themselves to the bone, worked themselves to death, died in harness, or like all the men that were under that yoke. And it's not saying it's a bad thing. Men did it willingly, but it's like to think that those guys weren't sacrificing the most out of anybody. Fathers, like they sacrifice a hell of a lot more than women ever sacrificed. Oh, women, they sacrifice their body. Oh, I'm not as pretty as I was before I got pregnant. Like, and of course, it's it's all petty shit that they talk about. But like men, they sacrifice, dreams, adventures, all kinds of untold shit, or even their lives. That happens all the time. But it's almost like that stuff is just a given that men are going to do that. And it's just meh, nothing, poo poo, just poo poo that. It's not a big sacrifice. They're going to do it, that they like doing it, so we just take it for granted. No, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. Those men are sacrificing themselves to carry the civilization on, to continue carrying the torch, to make sure that there is another generation that's well brought up, that's taken care of, that knows right from wrong, that have good role models, that have parents that it's just like there's so much more that goes into it. Mothers and fathers, like they're and I remember years ago, it was like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I remember it was like on Facebook or something. This was being discussed. The birth weight was just starting to be discussed. And I remember I got into one of these discussions in like a post or something, and I was like, yo, it's your fucking duty to have children and replace yourselves, women. Like, you're not doing your duty. What the fuck is going on? This is when I actually did have a stake. It was like, yo, I want to have a family and shit. Like, are y'all gonna fucking get with the program here? We have to do this. They were like, you oppressive man. We don't have to, it's nothing is our duty. It's not our duty to have your children. It's not, yeah, actually it is. Actually it is. You do owe society that, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. You know, it's like, and who the fuck do you think you are? You fucking bitch. Like, who do you think you are? That you're too good to procreate? That's beneath you? I mean, God, man, and honestly, I like half of me says, you know what? Let the let it go down. Let it disintegrate. You know, sir, it would serve them right. It would serve these women right. You know, and it would, but it's like, at the same time, that's kind of selfish of me. I'm not, honestly, I really don't feel that way, but it's like, it wouldn't bother me. In other words, I wouldn't like, what difference does it make to me? I'm gonna be dead. But to think, I mean, it's just so ungrateful and disgusting, bro. I was in like my mid 20s, and even I was like, and I've never argued with women about that shit again. I've never even, and actually, I think I gave up arguing with women about duty and, being ungrateful and what they owe. I gave up on that shit. I was like, ha, this is insane. These women have been so propagandized. They think the world owes them, not that they owe the world. They think that they were owed their parents taking care of them and feeding them and making sure that they had a shelter over their house. They think the world owes them that today. They think the world owes them a man to pay their bills. And if that man asks them to kick in 50%, oh my God, what a slight against them. I mean, dude, I mean, it's so entitled. It's so ungrateful. It's like disgusting. It's like, man, how did we raise such an entitled batch of brats as this, man? Seriously. And you know what's crazy? It would be one thing if these women were out inventing the cure for cancer or Alzheimer's, or out discovering new shit, like new elements, and helping Elon Musk to get us to Mars, but they're not. They're shirking their duties so they can sit at home and watch TV or doom scroll on TikTok or go shopping or look pretty for everybody, look how good I'm doing, like so she can look good on Instagram. They're not even doing it for any higher purpose. It's purely a selfish, it's purely a selfish impulse. It's purely them chasing their own selfish desires. There's literally nothing to fucking admire in it whatsoever at all. It's purely self-gratification. And it's like, wow, when I grew up and became a man, I put away childish things. It just blows my mind because women, and they really are like children. And I've heard, people, I've said it before. I've heard other men say it before. Women, they may as well be children. The way they think, they may as well be children. They don't actually think into the future. Like I said before, there's a reason for that, because when they're raising a kid, they have to focus on that kid. So they have to kind of be self-centered. That kid is the most important thing. The next generation is the most important thing. So there's a reason why women are that way. There's a reason why we're the way we are. But to say that, like I'm trying to say is there's a comparison between them and children. Yes, it's a good thing. Yes, we need them to be this way. And I'm not even saying it's a derogatory thing. They're self-centered like children are, and like the whole, the wife jack memes and shit. That was exactly that. It was married men and men, uh, uh, kind of, making light of the way that being married allows women to be. Like when you get married and you take care of your wife and you work, like, you take into account her safety, you make sure that, her car has all of its fluids, and you make it to where she doesn't have to think about that stuff. She can focus on being a woman, focus on doing what she does best, making a home for you, taking care of your children. She can focus on what she does best naturally. So you take care of the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a good thing. But that wife check, it was just kind of poking fun. Like, you know, they're like, the guy would be like, yeah, we're like standing in line, we're at the airport, we're doing something, where I'm kind of like frustrated trying to, make sure everything's okay. And out of nowhere, she's like, what color curtains do you think we should get for the dining room? And these guys were kind of just getting a chuckle out of it. Like, man, it's awesome. Like how my wife just gets to live and, almost like this la la land, she gets to live in this place where she just gets to be a woman and just kind of gets to think about random shit that, really doesn't have any immediate utility. And I'm not saying it is a bad thing. That's the thing is a lot of people, they automatically think what I'm saying, or I've heard people say what I'm saying, but say it almost in a derogatory way, but they're just narrow-minded morons. They're not looking at it from the 20,000 foot, from the bigger picture, looking at it from 20,000 feet and saying, yeah, women, they're not thinking about anything that has any utility in the moment, but is that their purpose? And in the long run, you're thinking about that shit. But what you aren't thinking about, what you're not worried about is whether or not your kids, have eaten that day or this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? Like they think about the things they think about for a reason. And from 20,000 feet, all is all is right with the world when women are that way. And when, they're in a marriage, they get to and then women, they call it their soft life or their feminine air, their femininity. And it kind of, I mean, it's kind of a stupid way to put it, but they are right. That is, they get to, when a man leads and is masculine and does his job, it allows a woman to, it allows her mind to kind of wander and do what it does best. And it just pisses me off how, and especially feminists, if I like to say that, they wouldn't even allow me to say, and I'm not like, they wouldn't even allow me to finish what I was saying so that I could say, yeah, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. That's as it should be. They would cut me off halfway through this. "Oh, how dare you, this, that, and the blah, blah, blah," and just chew me out. Like, it's like, man, you have no room for nuance, huh? Like, and really, feminists, they don't. They think that stuff is, they think it's stupid and childish too, or they wouldn't get so offended by it when I bring it up. They wouldn't get so offended by that. But the fact that they do get so offended by that, that's them admitting that they think that behavior and being a woman and feminine is beneath them, that it's childish, that it has no purpose, that it has no utility, that it's that any behavior other than man or male behavior is beneath human beings to feminists. They think that homemaking is beneath women. And it's like, what the fuck? I guess women don't appreciate women very much, but me being a man, bro, man, bro, you know, have a maid service. Bro, there's a reason why those exist. There's a reason why maids exist. But like when you have the money, I'd be willing to pay quite a bit, for somebody to come clean up after me. And it's like men understand women's utility and and you know what, men wouldn't marry women and support them and allow them to do all that stuff and allow them to stay at home and watch children and uh take care of the house. They would not do it if it wasn't a good deal all around. And honestly, it- it's just kind of fucked up how feminists don't value that stuff. It's like they have spent the last 100 years convincing everybody that women and feminine labor and feminine uh, personalities and feminine ways of being are less than. And it's like, god damn, how much do you hate yourself? Seriously. How much do you envy us? For what? I don't know. I don't know why you would envy working your fucking hands to the bone, dying on the job, like committing dying in wars. Like I remember talking to my dad about this when I was like 8, how women, wanted at combat roles and shit. My dad's like, what kind of a psychopath woman it takes to be jealous of men in combat roles, in combat in general. He's like, I don't even know. And now I'm thinking the same thing, like, yo, what kind of an absolute fucking psychopath must you be to be envious of men? And obviously you don't understand what goes on in combat. Seriously, like you have no idea. You don't even have a concept of hell. You have no fucking idea what that is. Obvious, not even the foggiest of notions. Anybody who's ever been in combat will tell you they would have done anything to avoid it. And it just, what's happening to us now is such an indictment of the generations before us in the 20th century, the feminists of the 20th century. I mean, a truly damn, like, dude, Betty Friedan, Gloria Steinem, these people are going to go down as true charlatans, bro. Charlatan, bro. These people are going to spit on the ground every time somebody brings their name up, bro. They're going to hit every time somebody brings up their name. Like if even there are people that even remember them, and it just blows my mind how those people actually think that they're smart enough that they can do it better than it's like, AI, that's human intelligence in the aggregate. That's like all of human knowledge pooled together and then spit out at you, when you like AI is basically human intelligence in the aggregate, all the humans in our society, kind of pooling their intelligence and their knowledge, and then the AI kind of pulls from it, like, like a pool of knowledge, basically. And think of that on a grander scale, all the humans that have ever lived. Well, all the humans that have ever lived produced the modern day human being and the modern day world. And it's pretty freaking good. They weren't dumb, they weren't evil. They they got us here. It took a lot to get us here. Inventing all that stuff like telephones, the cotton gin, the industrial revolution was coming about. Ugh, what the fuck? Mm. Hmm. It's all mm. Yeah, hang on for a second. I have this damn open claw. Thought I shut it down, but apparently it does not want to shut down. Like you can quit it, you can shut everything, and it just doesn't seem to want to close. Yes. Log out. There we go. Show me. Dude. Hmm. 1 second. There we go. Got it. I just need to put this command in. I did want to say, I think it was touch grass. You know, I just wanted to say I appreciate it, touch grass. I didn't even. I don't know if he's in here or not, but he really helped me out last night. Damn it. There we go. There we go. Finally. Yeah, hopefully that should fix the lag there, because that shit was getting like rough. Yep. Yeah, just looking at my activity monitor, and it just literally, the memory pressure got whacked in half. I didn't realize that it keeps running. It has a fucking stupid ass thing that stays going. But you guys ever watched, like, I'm sure some of the older guys remember watching William Buckley and Firing Line back in the day. What do you guys think of volume? No volume. What do you mean? My microphone's working just fine. Actually, I've like written a few things down this week. That was like one thing that's just been eating at me lately, man. Like all this bullshit, dude. It's like, when the hell are we gonna wake up? Well, I think finally that's what's been happening. Like, you really can't ignore it anymore. But then we also have this Iran bullshit. Like, yeah, I think I read yesterday that they're talking about boots on the ground now. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And I think I heard Nick saying this on Alex Jones' show. Like, it's just like one thing after another, or it's, they just keep getting us deeper and deeper and deeper. You know, like it starts off with cyber attacks, and we're just attacking, we're just getting rid of Hamas. Oh, we're just doing a cyber attack to, keep, do this such and such. Oh, we're just doing, we're just taking out their nuclear laboratories or whatever. It's just like, one, they just keep telling us, oh, they keep playing everything down. It's like, one, they keep going further and further, deeper and deeper, but they always make excuses for why. Oh, this isn't war. Oh, no, 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 we're not going down that road. No, no, this is just a one-time thing. And it's really like, for the last 40 years, we've been at fucking war with these people. And they've been pretending the whole time that we're not at war. When it's like, bro, you called the Cold War a war for half a century, and you're trying to tell me that we haven't been at war with fucking Iran? Bro, they kidnapped our people in the late 70s, early 80s. We have absolutely been at war with them, and they've just been pissing down our backs and telling us that it's been fucking raining the whole time. Like, bro, no, it hasn't. You're full of shit. It's just so annoying, man. Hmm. You know what? Actually, I actually haven't watched that Jones episode with Nick. I was thinking I'd just throw that up for a few minutes. Because I still I was going to talk about a few other things, but I just kind of wanted to let my jaw rest. I've been fucking flapping, flapping my gums and running my suck for, I don't know, what, an hour probably. Oh shit. An hour and 45 minutes. Man, that shit goes by so quick. Really does. But yeah, I still haven't seen the Alex Jones episode. I missed it when it was on. I was doing some shit and I was just like, fuck it. I don't have to see every episode really. Or everything that he does. When I first started watching him, that's how I felt about it. But it's like, he kind of he summarizes stuff, like he'll come on later on in the day from like he did with Alex Jones, and he'll summarize his the talk he has with Alex Jones. Or maybe if it's not in that episode, he'll summarize it.
So Israel hits a
He'll summarize it over the course of the week. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty much how he gets down, it seems. Alex Jones, he's something else. He's funny. Like he's such a character. He's got little hands though. He's got like little carny hands, like Austin Powers would say. He's got such a big head too. He actually reminds me of my dad a little bit. My dad has a big ass dome like him.
So we have to go to full war now. And they try to claim, oh, we're just trying to get their missiles now. No, Trump says, oh, we killed 40-something, now we're going to kill the rest. It's about regime change. So
Alex is finally letting
these are clear promises broken. This is clearly unconstitutional. Didn't get congressional authorization. This is full war. It's out of control. I appreciate Nick Holding while I did a 10-minute intro.
It's absolute
Nick
bullshit.
Fuentes is our guest. And again, people say, this guy's pro-white, this guy's whatever. We have major universities saying no whites allowed. We have whites are the devil, must be exterminated in the New York Times. This is the natural response to that.
I don't get it.
So I don't want to hear a bunch of stuff. I always want to say that as a premise right up front. So Nick, you told us what was coming 2 years ago. You've been proven right. You're like the new Alex Jones being right on things. So I want you to give your take on what's currently happening and then what you predict is going to come next. And is there any way to get Trump to extricate himself from this bear trap?
Well, I'll take the last question first. I think the answer is no. And I was very pessimistic about the prospect of that going into this administration. As you know, in 2024, I said that Trump is the Iran war candidate. It was inevitable that Trump would take us to war. And as a matter of fact, I think that's a large reason why he got elected in the first place. I think that if you look at the election in 2020, it was obviously stolen and rigged. And so you say, well, how did he then come back and win in 2024? Well, clearly the riggers had to stand down and let him take office. And whether that's a combination of the media, social media, electioneering, whatever you want to say, they let him win. And I think they let him win because they knew that unlike Joe Biden and unlike the Democrats, he was going to have no hesitation, no reluctance whatsoever to engage Iran and its proxies, which, of course, he then did throughout 2025 and 26. So as to whether he can extricate himself from the situation, I don't think so. I think that over and over, we see the same pattern where whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, Israel triggers a confrontation with Iran. And the United States does its best, I think, in both cases, in a Democrat or Republican administration, to mitigate the severity of the confrontation. So Joe Biden used deterrence. I believe that Donald Trump last year wanted that midnight hammer strike to be the end of the nuclear program and one tap and the war. But of course, Israel has orchestrated all of these different confrontations. They're deliberately provoking and triggering them. And I think that was the same story here. What has happened, as you said, as Marco Rubio said yesterday, is that Israel came to the United States. Netanyahu came to the White House for, I believe, the 6th time since Trump took office for the 2nd time. And he told Trump, we're going in. And you can join us or you cannot join us, but we're going to attack and your soldiers are going to be collateral damage. And so they forced our hand. And what is happening now, once again, is actually very much more of the same, which is that in the same way that in previous years, Washington and Tel Aviv actually diverge on their Iran policy. For example, Washington seeks denuclearization. Our doctrine is non-proliferation of WMDs. Our imperative is we don't want Iran to have the bomb. Israel, on the other hand, has always wanted regime change. And these are two completely different things. Israel seeks the termination not just of the Ayatollah, but of the entire Islamic revolutionary government. And so that tension has characterized the three-way diplomacy between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. This war is more of the same. I believe that Trump went in knowing that Israel was going in. And I believe the play, to the extent that there is any kind of a plan, is Trump wants the Venezuela model. I'm sure that he, and I think Vance and the others as well, they thought they would go in hard and quickly against Iran, destroy the Navy, destroy the missile production, destroy the missile launch platforms, kill some of the top brass. And the expectation is that somebody from within the Iranian Revolutionary Guard would rise up as a pragmatist and negotiate with the United States for peace. And they would maintain Iran's government structure and security architecture while being pliant or compliant with the United States.
By the way, you're not just speculating. They admit this, an insane gamble, just a crazy shot-in-the-dark gamble.
Yes, and that is the correct word. It's a gamble. That is totally a roll of the dice, whether that will happen. We just don't know that. We don't know who that might be, if that will happen. Now, further, this is why this is the ongoing divergence in Washington-Tel Aviv policy. That's not going to be enough for Israel. Even if that was possible, let's say in your revolutionary, zealot, Shiite, theocratic government, you get a faction from the IRGC that wants to negotiate with Washington after they killed the Ayatollah and half the leadership and blew up the country. Even if that happens, will this satisfy Israel? The answer is no. No. Because what Israel is seeking is a total regime change. They want to install a liberal, democratic government, maybe led by the Shah, or at least a transition led by the Shah. And why?
Oh, no shit.
So that they can manipulate the future state of Iran, as they did in Syria, as they did in Iraq, as they did in these other countries.
And that was my point from Saturday on, is you can look at this one-dimensionally. Yeah, mullahs are bad, but the British and the U.S. and Israel always put worse people in, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda in charge of Syria. The idea that the West is this fairy godmother creating My Little Pony heavens is bullshit.
Well, that's totally true. And not only that, but I think it's likely at this point that a hardliner regime takes power, because who's going to be left after these people watch their leaders get killed and their colleagues and their own countrymen get killed? I don't think they become more compliant. And it's a country of 90 million people. They have 1 million soldiers between all the security services. I don't know that they're just going to lay down and beg for mercy at this point. Why would they?
Americans, even a pussified Americans wouldn't do that. Right. The Vietnamese they're not going to lay down. They're going to get more aggressive.
They will, and that plays into Israel's hands, because then what this does is it basically reignites the pretext for war. So, the language in the Trump admin is escalation. We're going to bomb them even harder. We're not ruling out boots on the ground. It can always get worse. And so maybe you get a ceasefire, a new regime comes to power, they don't surrender, and then we have to come up with a more permanent solution. And this is where now the U.S. is talking to the Kurds and talking about the Kurds maybe potentially being a ground force.
Now they're talking about breaking
militias.
Iran up, which is the Israeli plan to break up every country there.
Right, as they did in Iraq, as they did in Syria. That's the textbook Israeli grand strategy. So yes, and that's the thing. You never see the end of the Iran war. It's always, this is just the latest climax. This is just the latest ceiling of hostilities between the U.S., Iran, and Israel, which have been ongoing for decades. And I don't think this is the end of it. So I don't know that I'd be surprised.
Agree. Do you think Trump even, I'm not trying to give him a get out of jail free card, but I actually know what your answer is. I know you're smart. Do you think Trump even understands this? And the answer is no.
No, I don't think so. And I think he just overestimates his abilities. I'm sure that in part, maybe they did Venezuela to build up his confidence, because Venezuela is a totally different story. 28 million people. The regime's not loyal.
They did the limited bombing thing and let him negotiate and have Israel stand down. They did that thing last year, I said, to get his confidence up with Iran.
You did say that. I remember I was down there and you said exactly that. And I think that is quite literally the play, which is you get that momentum, you get that inertia. And I'm sure they told him that this would create a deterrent effect. You do it to Venezuela, you can bring the force to Iran and say, hey,
let's remember, they got
what we did to this guy.
Psychologists, the really good ones, are studying Trump. I mean, they're pitching him bullshit, seeing what works, going back. I mean, it's disgusting.
It is, and they manipulate him. You know, people say it's blackmail. People say they got a tape of him. I don't think it's that complicated. I think that they surround him, they saturate his information diet, and and they form his opinions. They create the options. And the question is, where's the personnel? Where's Tulsi Gabbard? Isn't she the DNI? Where is she? Where's Vance? Where's Rubio? These are all supposed to be America First people that we were supposed to be excited about in the cabinet. And what we find from the Times is that not even a single one of them told Trump not to do it.
Yeah,
and these were all ostensibly supposed to be against the endless wars, the Middle Eastern conflicts.
By the way, I didn't think you were wrong 2 years ago when you predicted this, or last year when you said it was, I hope we could avert this. But clearly now, if you follow Trump's psychology, I think he just doubles down. So where does that go?
So I think that it will end in regime change one way or another. What happens imminently is sort of unpredictable. It's hard to imagine how exactly the Iranians respond and what the Trump administration has up its sleeves in terms of escalation. But I think that Israel, clearly they're driving the policy. They've orchestrated all of these events. They're not letting go until there's a regime change. And what Israel wants, they get. So I think that before the 4 years are up, you're going to see a full-scale regime change. And for that to happen, there's going to need to be a ground presence. Maybe that's partial U.S., partially it's militia or it's Kurds. I believe that is what was driving the protests even a month ago. It was all in the western half of the country, in the Kurdish part. And they said that these were people clad in black, and they had automatic weapons, and they appeared to be trained. So I imagine it's going to be some kind of smart power, multi-domain operation with the militias armed, maybe from Iraqi Kurdistan, which shares the border, and maybe from Turkey. And I think there's going to be some kind of force that comes in and forces a transition. I think that's, when you work out the math on that, I think that's all but inevitable. And it seems unlikely now, but
hopefully
it seemed unlikely that we'd be here. It seemed unlikely we'd be bombing Iran into submission, or that we'd bomb their nuclear program a year ago. It just keeps escally in that direction.
You predicted it, because I watch your show. I watch clips almost every day, but whenever I can, I watch, when I work out, hours of it, every few days. You literally, it was uncanny. I remember laid all this out 2 years ago. How did you know that? You just knew their policy?
They said it. They said it openly. I appreciate you saying that. And it is true. I did predict it almost to the letter, but they were basically saying this in October 2023. Right after the October 7th attacks, the Israelis all came out and they said, this is going to be a regional war. We're going to destroy all the proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and then we're going to cut the head off the snake. They said, we're going to reset the international relations in the region that has prevailed for 50 years. And I think what they meant by that is this Islamic crescent headed by Iran, which was only the latest one after the Baathists, after the Arab coalition between Syria and Egypt. So I think that if you're really paying attention, even to the rhetoric from Trump, everybody forgets that the Israelis were whispering in Trump's ear that Iran was trying to assassinate him. Why do you think they did that? It's because they were already laying the groundwork. That was their pre-programming to sabotage that relationship so that they could tell him when he becomes president, hey, remember, they did try to kill you. And that was always meant to spoil diplomacy between the two countries.
Sure, let me ask you this question then. Why do the Israelis for 5 years wear on a lot of their uniforms the Greater Israel map? Why do they admit it in their newspapers, then attack us and censor us when we say it, and then have dozens of articles a day, I can't even keep track of them, saying, we run America, we're the new superpower, we're going to take out Turkey, we're going to take out our allies through Obama. They took out and put the Muslim Brotherhood in. They created Hamas. I mean, we're sitting here watching, and it's not just Netanyahu, it's the other main party and their last prime minister saying we're going to get Turkey and others next. I mean, and then they think we're going to go to war now with Turkey, the biggest conventional military in Europe. I mean, it's like there's this giant buffet, and Israel's like a 1,000-pound fat person that wants us to sit there and hand feed all this at our expense. I mean, this is just megalomaniac. So I know Israel's smart in an evil way, but why do they brag? And I guess to enrage everybody else that's awake, because that just adds to the furor. Or what's going on here?
I think that is a deliberate provocation. I think that, part of their entire MO is they actually need the conflict. After all, what was October 7th? Well, they called it the Al-Aqsa flood operation. What is Al-Aqsa? That is the mosque. That's the Temple Mount. That's the Dome on the Rock, which is in Jerusalem, which is the center really of the occupied territory dispute. That the Palestinians claim East Jerusalem as the capital, and they claim that's their third holiest mosque in Islam. And what the Jews did in Israel that precipitated the October 7th attack is they had all of these Jews go to the Dome on the Rock, go to the mosque in Jerusalem, to the Al-Aqsa compound, and they started doing their religious rites in a very provocative way. And actually, that was the precipitating cause.
And killing the red heifer.
Yes, finding the red heifer, the unblemished heifer and everything. And it was deliberately intended to provoke the Muslims into a response. And I think that the stuff about Greater Israel, the goal is the same. It is to provoke these countries into conflict, because ultimately that is the way they're going to achieve their goals, is to elicit hostility. And then that's the pretext to bring in the United States to fight their wars for them. And I think that's the playbook from day one. So that is all part of it. Telegraphing that, signaling that, that's all part of the sick agenda, sadly.
No, I agree. So let's unpack this and how do we stop it? How do we stop it? We'll be right back with Nick Fuentes. Stay with us here to live feeds now. People ask, who do I have on as guests on a routine basis? Whether they're economists, whether they're strategy people, security people, journalists, it's who is the most accurate. It's a really easy rule. I want to be accurate. I want to be smart. I want to be informed. The more knowledge I get, the more I want factoids. The more I want to, it all interconnects. And then I really disdain on the left, right, anything, people that just pick up talking points and act like they know something. And what's frustrating is 90% of these so-called journalists and influencers, literally, you talk to them in person, they don't know anything. They sit there like deer in the headlights. My callers are infinitely more knowledgeable because, they're tuned in here. They probably were smart before they tuned in. That's why they look for something else smart. Bird of a feather flock together. But it's not about tooting our horns. It's about saying we need to save civilization and humanity. Nick Fuentes, you can disagree with his conclusions or what he thinks should be done sometimes, but you can't disagree with his analysis and the fact that he goes up against top geopolitical, White House advisors with 5 degrees and kicks their ass. So respect needs to be due. But also, it's not just the globals we're fighting. It's the low IQ people that we've woken up who are more like in high school and they want to, in a hierarchy, say, everybody's a globalist, but them. It's something that the Israelis and the other lobbies feed with bots to make us fight with each other. So we don't recognize the organic leaders that God has given us to lead us out of this. So I want to just say that right up front, that I respect Nick Fuentes because he knows what he's talking about. I can disagree on the final product of thousands of points that go together or say maybe this is better, and sometimes he's right more than I am. The difference is he knows what he's talking about. And I am sick and tired.
We cannot allow them to
of having to debate low-grade morons that don't even know how to find their ass with both hands. So, Nick, let me throw this out at you because we got a lot of time here, and I appreciate it.
Find their ass with both hands.
But I want you to quantify before we go to these clips and unpack this and what you think's coming next, what you predict next, how we can stop this, which you already said we can't, which we still got to try. I think you're right.
Got to try.
I'm about to evacuate to South America or something. That's where all the globalists are going. But here's my question.
Here's my fucking video right.
Looking at all of this, is there? And I want you to think about this. I know you already said no. What could we do? A peaceful demonstration? I don't know, hang something on our doorway, or liberals would say mass strike. I don't want to join them in that because then you're allied with Islam. Is there any way to get Trump off this destructive course we're on? And then maybe describe to people, because you predicted the future, where this course takes us. Nick Fuentes.
Well, as I said, I'm very pessimistic about that. And the reason being is because when you look at the numbers, it's not popular. They did all the polls this weekend. You got Washington Post, Reuters. I think there's a few others. And the approval rating for the conflict is sitting at about 30%, right around 30%, maybe just under that. And Trump has to know this is an utter betrayal of his campaign promise of no new wars, and he's the peace president and so on. So as far as a massive demonstration, what is that supposed to demonstrate? That the war is unpopular? They know the war is unpopular. Is that supposed to demonstrate that we're dissatisfied? They know we're dissatisfied. And I think that gets back to the nature of it, which is that it is a gamble. And I think that Trump is counting on the fact, well, let's actually be honest for a moment here about it. Trump is counting on the fact or the possibility that this works, that this little gambit pays off. And we bomb Iran a lot for a week. It's quick and it's hard, and then we leave and we get what we want, and there's minimal loss of life. If it is successful, I think people on our side may even be underestimating the appetite for something like that among the general public. If it's a big victory, or if they're able to plausibly claim victory, it may even be popular. And so I think Trump is actually okay with this. I think that Trump, the way he sees it, because he said this the other day, he said, I don't care about approval ratings. He said, and I'll put boots on the ground. I don't care. Now, obviously he cares on some level, but I think in his mind, this is all
he better care about a bunch of dead troops. I mean, you talk about, we're talking, it'll make Vietnam numbers look tame.
Yeah, well, 50,000 in the whole
war.
Well,
it depends on what they do. If it's a full-scale invasion, you're absolutely right, because they will try to inflict maximum casualties, and it will get ugly. It will be like Iraq.
Already special forces there before this happened. I'm talking about a real invasion to, quote, secure the Strait of Hormuz or whatever. That's how they'll start it. It's a disaster.
Right. Yeah. And I agree. And I think that, on some level, he obviously cares about these things, but this is part of the bluff. This is part of the gambit, which is, partially, I think some of the things he's saying is meant to signal to the Iranians that things could get worse. If the outcome that you desire is for a pragmatic faction to take power, negotiate with the United States, well, to persuade them that is the logical course, you would actually need to convince them that things could get worse.
And that's why they just had the council meeting to elect a new mullah who didn't want peace right now. They just killed them today. So he's hoping like maybe the next group's less radical. But as you said on your show a few days ago, and it's true, as you go down the chain, they get more radical and stupider.
Yes, and that is why he's trying to persuade them that it could always get worse. I'm sure in their mind, in Trump's mind, he's thinking that these Iranians expect that maybe they could ride out the storm. If they could survive, if they could hide out in shelters, then maybe there's going to be some continuity of government. And Trump is trying to persuade them that if they don't capitulate, it could get worse. The bottom could continue to fall out from under them.
And by the way, what they really don't want. Influence farmers will say you just endorsed Trump. No, when you war game what he's thinking, you're not endorsing that.
Right. No, we're purely speculating about his state of mind and what his approach is. And so I think
you see the clips of you where they take you wargaming and say that's the same thing to me. That's what they do. I just want to get that out there.
They always. Yeah, well, and I consider those people to be third worldists because they're really arguing for Iran in and of itself.
Yeah.
Or Venezuela in and of itself, or China.
Like even
I look at Iran not as a great country. I mean, they're a Muslim theocracy, but I look at them as a country that, one, they're a sovereign state. So I don't think we have business going in and killing their leader.
Potential to destroy us and bring down the economy. So.
Right. And I would go further than that. They balance Israel. There's a balance between Iran and Israel. I don't know that that's the worst thing in the world, because if you have to bring powerful
Israel needs to be contained. Now why are they now publicly admitting everywhere? I'm sure you've seen it that, we're taking everything, including their allies. Like it'd be like if my neighbor said, I just went over and screwed my neighbor's wife and your wife's next.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a provocation. It's intended to be provocative. They actually do not want peace in the region, and all of this is based on fueling this ongoing conflict. They don't want it.
Same reason they stood down on October 7th. Same reason they founded Hamas.
Yes, and Americans are under the impression that we're desperate to make a deal, and there's this peace that is just always elusive, always out of reach. If only the Muslims would just relax. But it takes two to tango here. The Israelis, they are the ones that actually want the conflict. They didn't want to deal with Iran. If they get a deal with Iran, that they don't get to topple the Iranian regime. If Iran gets a deal with the United States, maybe they give up their nukes on some timeline, but they also get to normalize their trade relations and diplomatic relations with all the countries in the region.
Israel wants to keep it to no man's land and keep them in the timeout box.
Too. Like, what the
Yes, they
You an
want to
American
maintain
or
that
what?
kind of operational control like they had in Syria, where they can control the airspace and they can just drop bombs. And then they could ultimately control the outcome in that country and make it significantly weaker. So,
They can
so
strangle
that's
people
the
out.
sick logic of
Well, here's my
Israel's grand
problem.
strategy.
We have a full sales job now by Netanyahu, Trump, and now Vance. We have the clips that it may last a little while, a long time, it may last forever. We're being sold on a forever war right now.
Oh.
It's so. Here's my problem.
It could be a decade.
I don't want the Democrats opening the border. I like Trump killing the carbon tax. I like the no tax on tips. You know, there's all this good stuff, but rapidly, like I can ignore some stuff and hold my nose with Trump, but quickly, I mean, by the hour, I morally cannot be part of this. You're already there saying vote Democrat. I get you're saying that as a carrot and the stick, but I mean,
the connection's a little better.
what the hell's going on here?
I pared everything down.
I think you have to. I think you have to vote Democrat in 26, and I'll tell you why.
Man.
I mean,
vote against
we're being told always that the Republicans are the lesser of two evils, that they're going to be marginally better than the Democrats. Look at all of the broken promises. Epstein files, that's huge. It's huge. And let's be honest, they tried to cover it up. It's not like they fumbled that. It's not like they made a mistake. They engaged in an active cover-up, and they failed only because of a revolt within their own party. And now Marjorie Greene is an outcast. She was like the MAGA congresswoman. She was like the one in Congress who came after Trump won the election. She's an outcast because she led the coup to get the Epstein files released. That's a big one. Then you got the deportations. They haven't started on the border wall. And even though they secured the border, look, they secured the border in 2020.
Yep.
What good did that do when Joe Biden came into power?
That's what I've been saying.
Because then he just overturned all the executive orders and they came pouring in. That's why you need the wall. They haven't started it. 230,000 deportations. It isn't happening. And now we're in a regime change war with Iran. You've been around. I've been around not as long as you, but for some time. Regime change in Iran is like synonymous with the neocons' ultimate master plan. That is like the number one thing on Israel's wish list.
In the crown. It was the whole Middle East strategy and the Rebuilding America's Defenses PNAC plan 2020 or 2000 was this.
Yes, and even further than that, going back to clean break in 96, this has always been the plan. And for a time, we thought that was unthinkable. We thought that Trump winning made that impossible. So for Trump to be the one to take us there and sell it and push it and trigger it, and now we're in a regime change war with Iran, it's almost unbelievable to even say that. Yeah. Thousands of American and Israeli airstrikes destroying Iran's military. Here's how I feel about it. If you will tolerate that, you will tolerate anything. Yep. At what point do you say no? At what point do you say there's no excuses? People say, well, if there's boots on the ground, dude, they're dropping bombs everywhere. And it's in Iran. So for me, I said that's the last straw.
I mean, it's crazy to me. Did anybody in the administration not think, hey, if I resign because they're going to war, I'm a shoo-in for probably presidential candidate. If Rubio had resigned, if anybody had resigned, they would be top dog in the Republican Party going forward. They would be the one next up deck, at least for the people. They would be the people's champ. Maybe not the establishment's champ, but they would be our champ. And they would have us backing them. Dumbasses. What an opportunity they passed up.
I'm out. And you know me, I'm the furthest thing from a Democrat. I'm far right. I'm not left wing or even liberal. I don't consider myself even a center liberal or a right liberal.
Let's talk about that. Democrats get in. Isn't that accelerationist?
No, I think that.
Yeah, it was from the other day.
I don't know that I would characterize it as accelerationist. I would characterize it as corrective. And it's sending a message to the GOP before the big one, which is 28.
Yeah, you're saying the only leverage we've got is the wake-up call.
Right. And, 28, we got to win that one. I really believe Republicans got to win, but we need it to be the right Republican. And I don't know that there's any other language they will understand other than to show them we're not showing up in 26. And what's more, I also think that Vance and Rubio are to blame in this as well. If they couldn't stop a war in Iran when they're in power now, how are they going to make the decision when they become the president?
We knew Rubio's a deep state guy. He's been, quote, doing a good job for what we wanted till now. But Vance was an open thing. He's come out now and said we may be there in a long war. So Vance is definitely getting in line with that. In fact, speaking of the devil, let's go to those clips first. Here's Thune, the leader of the Senate,
of the devil.
saying Trump doesn't need a war powers. He has authorization, which no, he doesn't. This is pure war, folks. This is not blow up their weapons. This is regime change. And then Vance saying the same thing, and then saying basically this could be a forever war. And then I want to go through these other clips, but here it is.
Would you think the Congress would need to authorize any military action against Iran beyond the 60-day or 90-day window?
No. I think the president has the authority that he needs to conduct the activities, the operations that are currently underway there. And as you know, there's a lot of controversy around questions around the War Powers Act, but I think the president is acting in the best interest of the nation and our national security interests by ensuring that he's protecting Americans and American bases and installations in that region, as well as those of our allies.
We'll go back and you can get Nick Fuentes' take on this, but Marco Rubio yesterday. Israel launched the attack. They were going to attack us. We had to attack them because they would attack us if we attacked them. Thune just said, we attacked them, so they're going to attack us, so now we have to authorize the war. So we attack somebody, so the president has a War Powers Act because he has the power to attack somebody. I mean, this is insane. Continue.
The United States has a lot of optionality here. And, you know, we could go for a little bit longer. We could go for a lot longer. But I think the president just wants to make it clear to the Iranians and to the world that he is not going to rest until he accomplishes that all-important objective of ensuring that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, not just for the next few years, not just because we obliterated Fordo or some other enrichment facility, but because the Iranians themselves commit long-term to not building a nuclear weapon.
So we've gone from, oh, we successfully destroyed their nuclear stuff, which I said was BS, to now total war. Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, they said last year that the program was completely obliterated. And, you know, we've almost even talked past the point. It's sort of interesting. Last year, the pretext for bombing Iran in the first place was that they were racing towards a nuclear bomb. When Israel hit Iran on June 13, 25, they said, well, Iran was going to strike us, and they were racing towards a device. That's why we had to preempt that by striking them. And then, of course, the U.S. intervened to finish the job at Fordo and Natanz, which only we could do with the bunker busters from the B-2 bombers. Well, then, in January, when these protests started in Iran, all of a sudden that shifted. And Trump came out and said, well, we were going to attack Iran, but we couldn't topple the regime in one blow. And you say, well, wait a second. I thought Israel and the United States attacked Iran last year because they were on their way to a nuke, but then we took care of it and we blew up their program. Now they're saying, well, we couldn't bomb Iran at our discretion in January because it wasn't going to topple the regime. And you say, topple the regime? I thought it was about the nuclear program. And like you say, now we're in it. Now we're in a full-fledged regime change war. And you wonder, who made this decision exactly? Who voted for this? Why is this happening? Arguably, it is within, I think, America's interest to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. And if they're about to imminently acquire them, a case could be made. I don't know that I would make it, but in a theoretical, a case could be made that the United States might preempt that by intervening in Iran.
The point is they've abandoned that cover story. And Trump says, oh, we killed 47, now we'll kill the rest. It's all about regime change now, which under the law is illegal to preemptively attack somebody saying, I want regime change. So Trump's being set up here with major impeachment charges.
Well, and they're throwing everything out there. It's the dead protesters. It's the nuclear program. It's the missiles. It's just like Iraq. It's exactly like Iraq. Oh, they're building a nuke, but also they did the anthrax plot, also 9/11. They just throw everything out there in the hopes that enough people are going to buy it. And like you said, there's nothing legal about this. What is the authorization for the use of force against Iran? Did Congress declare war? At what point was this decision made and exactly by whom? So I don't know that this is impeachable because, ironically, the Democrats support it too. Chuck Schumer came out of the closed-door hearing with Marco Rubio at the State of the Union, or the afternoon of, and said, well, this is very serious and Trump's just going to have to make his case. There's a lot of Democrats that support this, guys like John Fetterman, among others.
They're stepping back to not take any problems if it goes sideways, but they're behind it.
100%. I think so. And I don't think they would move against him for that. So
here's Trump. Here's Trump saying that, no, he forced Israel's hand, even though on record the Pentagon admitted, no, we didn't know. They took the opportunity, so we had to hit. The Secretary of State says it. Trump makes him come out and say that wasn't true. Talk about congressional hearings now. What's going to happen to Rubio when he's in front of Congress? So this is very embarrassing right now. Here is Trump saying that they made him that Trump forced Israel's hand to strike first during the middle of the day against our doctrine. And then why do you think Rubio came out yesterday and said Israel forced our hand? What do you think the impetus behind that was? Here it is.
That they forced our hand?
If Israel forced your hand to launch these strikes against Iran, did that pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact.
Well, since the 80s, Iran has not launched an attack first. Every attack has been a response, a retaliatory attack. I mean, that is literally pulled out of Trump's butt, Nick.
It is. And that's exactly what happened last year, too. Israel came in and Trump said, oh, we knew they were doing it. They told us, and the whole negotiations were a ruse. It's almost just childish to see Trump in the White House spin. Well, actually, I forced Israel to do it. Wow, this is when Trump just becomes grating. You know, all those things we thought were charming 10 years ago or endearing or funny. Now it's just grating and insufferable. He's obviously full of it. There's nothing true about that at all. This idea that, like you say, that Iran was about to attack us. Really? We have 2 carriers there. We got a dozen warships, 50,000 soldiers, half of our Air Force, and Iran was going to start the war against us. Does that even make any sense? That is completely made up.
And then Rubio says Israel launched an attack, so we had to because they were going to attack us. Now Trump goes, no, they were going to attack us with no information. I mean, I'm sorry, folks. I wanted to support Trump. I support the evidence, killing the carbon. That's why I hate this, because he's done a lot of good. We're watching Trump self-immolate on live television.
Well put. Well put.
It is. It's a complete unraveling, and it's clear what happened there. I think, look, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, they want to run for president in 28, so they know that their butt is on the line here. If this Iran war doesn't go well, there go their presidential ambitions. And so I think that when Rubio comes out and says, well, Israel made us do it, obviously, this is like a real-time narrative construction, so that when in 28 he's questioned about it on the debate stage, if this becomes a debacle, this is hedging. He can say, well, we didn't have any options. We had the choice. Either we go in with Israel at the beginning or Americans die. Well, I chose to, that's going to be the argument. Yep. That's going to be the campaign speech. That'll be the, screenshot this. Bullshit. In a few years, that is what he's going to say on the debate stage. We had a choice. If we didn't act, then more Americans would have died. And I stood with Trump. We made the bold decision to go in and blah, blah. Well, that is clearly going to be the answer.
By the way, you're on a roll. You're on a roll. You got another hour coming up, but let me just stop you. Singing. I said at the first of the show, they're going to use the insurance company shutting down the Strait of Hormuz as the claim that we've got to put a beachhead on the Iranian side so they can't close it to secure it for trade. I said I believe that'll be the excuse for boots on the ground, which they floated in the last 2 days, which Eric Prince freaked out about, rightfully. Ladies and gentlemen, he just put this out. Oh, wow. Show the timestamp on this, guys. Scroll down. Pull it up. I just saw this now. Trump is now saying he signed an executive emergency order basically for war. If anybody tries to close the strait, it's already closed. So this is him using economic emergency powers to have an unofficial declaration of war. Nick, this is horrible. This is really bad. This is boots on the ground. So this is just a few minutes ago. What do you make of this, Nick Fuentes?
ensuring it.
Well, it's like I said, we're being drawn in here. That is really the operative word. Nobody wants this. It's not in our interest. We are being slowly drawn in. And what that implies is that step by step, we're being dragged further into this. And that's always what happens. It always starts with, we're just putting maximum pressure sanctions. Well, we just killed Qasem Soleimani. Well, we just backed a cyber attack. It's always, we just did this one time. And all it does is increase our liability. It just increases our stake in this disaster. And so it was very obvious. Okay, we go in with the bombs really hard. We destroy the Navy. We destroy the missile launch platforms. Okay, well, then you get this logic like, well, you break it, you bought it. Now Iran inevitably is going to keep throwing missiles at us. We're running out of interceptors. So what do you do now? Iran is going to close the Strait of Hormuz. That's going to shut down 20% of the oil trade. What do you do now? Again, you're being drawn in step by step, and our share of this, our stake in this, is always increasing until you wake up and you find you're in this unthinkable scenario. So that's why I say I don't know that we can rule out boots on the ground in the future.
Oh, but that's the plan. People go, oh, the executive order just says they'll protect the ships. Yeah, they're going to do it with troops. I already saw it. People, we got a whole other hour coming up. How people find you, Nick?
I am at rumble.com/Nick J. Fuentes. I'm live every weeknight, and I'm on Twitter, Nick J. Fuentes as well.
And I'm at Real Alex Jones on X and the Alex Jones Show on Rumble. Everybody, we've survived so much, nobody thinks we're going to get shut down. The state receiver is refusing to pay the internet bills, refusing to keep the company open. So it looks like we're shutting down this month, towards the end of the month. We have the backup network. Just be ready, people, because you survive so much, you don't take it serious. Just get ready to share. Here's where Alex is at. Because I don't cry wolf, I just survive a long time. We'll be right back with hour number 4. Now, a lot of men particularly, because men's brains are designed, cerebral cortex, in the areas of the brain, there's like triple the connections that a woman has to strategy. And that's why men love chess, men love football. It's all strategy. But you fill your head with that. Those are literal Roman bread and circuses wrote about to distract their men, not to be politically involved. My cerebral cortex is focused on politics. So I have a lot of facts, a lot of overlaying information in history. This is a short segment. Long segment coming up with Nick Fuentes. But it's so frustrating to know how this works and see what's moving on the chessboard. And it's not in America's interest or anybody's interest, but tyrants. To understand the historical danger of all of this. And I don't really have words, Nick, to talk about when you look out second order, third order, fourth order consequences of this. Why privately the chairman of the Joint Chiefs told Trump don't do it. Eric Prince, many others. And, we have Trump and J.D. Vance in compilation saying we're not going to go to boots on the ground. We're not going to go to regime change. They're doing it. Can you speak to what you predict happens down this road we're going? And just, there's got to be other ways of leverage. If we can't leverage Trump, who do we put pressure on in Congress to stop this, or is AIPAC too powerful?
I think what has been set in motion cannot be stopped at this point. I think that the time to do it would have been in 24, and everybody reassured us that if Trump won, well, we would pressure Trump later. I remember Mike Cernovich said that. He said, well, this is how politics works. You don't know how politics works. I do. He said, you got to get Trump elected, and then we're going to work in the admin, and we're going to fight the personnel and blah, blah. And this is, I know we've had this conversation. This is always my refrain. It's like, we tried that. We did that. We did that in the first term. And by the way, how did the first term end? Trump ripped up the 2018 nuclear.
Reminds me of Obamacare. We have to, that Pelosi said, we have to buy it, or we have to we have to vote for the bill to find out what's in it. That's what that fucking bitch had the balls to say. We have to vote for this to find out what we're voting for. Like, bro, this is the same shit that she pulled. This is some, like, how dare they even fucking pretend that this is a democracy? Like, bro, how can you say it's a democracy? The balls on these fucking people.
In 2019, we're effectively in a war with Iran. In 2020, he kills Qasem Soleimani. We're shooting down drones. They're attacking tankers. You can Google it. There's an article, I believe it was in December 2020. Trump actually ordered the military to attack Iran, or at least was considering it, in the lame duck session. And it was only his generals that discouraged him from doing it. So it's like, this is deja vu all over again. We live this, and we tried all that. The personnel, the voting, the Twitter campaign, the hashtags. And I think that, now Trump is going to do what Trump is going to do. And Trump, who knows why? Blackmail, persuasion, whatever. Those people are around him.
It's ego. Clearly, you said it an hour. It's ego.
It's ego, certainly. Whatever it is, that's what we're stuck with. And I think that if you want to really get it to stop, you just got to switch up and play both sides. You got to play both sides and go Democrat. I don't want to do it. I don't like the Democrats. I fully understand what they represent, but what else can you do to the Republicans? All that other stuff is flaccid. Protest, tweet about it. They know if you are going to vote in November that you're really not serious. You're going to go and rah, 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 hold up the sign. But as long as they get your vote in the end, I mean, honestly, what difference does it make for them? There's a little less enthusiasm. They don't care. So I'm really, like I said, I think that we actually have to think beyond this. And we have to think the only way out of it is 28. How do we relight the flame in 28? That's all I care about. And for that to happen, maybe there needs to be a little pain. The current GOP has to suffer a little bit for it to be reborn in 28. But it's not going to be Vance and Rubio that save the day, obviously, based on this.
Well, I would say this. I may agree with you if we say we're not going to support. I would almost call it like a candidate by candidate basis. And then if somebody's a neocon, or we should do a litmus test, if they support this, they shouldn't be voted for. I almost see it as like a loyalty pledge. But let's come back, because the French are sending their aircraft carrier to protect the one of the main corridors there, Suez Canal, and Trump is now basically saying they're going to send in U.S. ships into the Strait of Hormuz, which is a total trap. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. I don't want people to miss the historic point we're at right now. The fourth turning, the end of the old order, the populist revolutions happening everywhere, and then Trump betraying what he said he would do. I have compilations of him saying no boots on the ground, no full war. And here we are, and it's all unraveling in real time. The Strait of Hormuz has already been closed by insurance companies after Iran began to attack ships and blew up and sunk a few in the last 3 days. And now Trump signs an executive order saying, we'll do whatever we have to for open shipping. We'll put troops on the ground in the Strait of Hormuz on their side. We're going to have military escorts through there. The announcements are being made off his plan. I mean, this is escalating to the next level immediately. And this is why Eric Prince and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and others told Trump, Iran's not going to give up. You're not going to get regime change. 99% chance right away. You're not going to get it in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or a year. Now they're prepping us for just an endless war. So now we're against Europe with its plan to prop itself up with an endless war with Russia. And now America has its plan for this. We didn't vote for this. We didn't sign up for this. And
not even close.
Again, they might have attacked us when Israel attacked them, said Rubio yesterday. So we had to attack them. And when they hit our ships, which Iran knew that they hit a few ships, they close it with insurance. Then they send in the U.S. ships. Then the Iranians attack those ships. And they'll go, oh, my God, they attacked us. All we're doing is blowing them up. And then now Trump says we got to put troops on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz to protect this. I said it in the first hour. It's happening in live time. Nick, this is like a bad dream.
It is. It feels surreal. I still can't even believe it. Even though I've been predicting it, and even though we're watching it, I wake up and I see the news. We are at war with Iran. And for people that are not paying attention to all this stuff, again, it cannot be overstated. This is it's literally the neocon nightmare scenario, like war with Iraq, Syria, now Iran.
This is the ghost of the neocons
can't get out of that
possessing us. This is their wet dream.
It is.
Yes. And for Trump to be the one delivering it, that's the most surreal aspect of all of it. You could see a DeSantis doing this. You could see a Kamala Harris doing this, honestly. But to see Donald Trump on Friday night at Mar-a-Lago with the hat on, with the black curtain announcing this war, building the case against the Iranian regime, you go, what happened? What happened to this movement? You know, I mean, you and I, we've been with Trump really since the beginning, since 2015. And when he came down the escalator, his first big move was basically to destroy this Republican support for war and the war in Iraq in particular, repudiate that whole legacy of the Bush dynasty, George Bush, Jeb Bush. And so for him now to be doing this, it really feels like it's come full circle.
And we have Lindsey Graham having orgasms on television.
That too. Yeah, Lindsey Graham's a huge fan of this. Well, endorsed by Trump. So, I mean, again, this is my frustration. The signs were all there. J.D. Vance said at the Republican convention in 2024, we need to bomb Iran really hard. And Trump endorsed Lindsey Graham. This time he endorsed him 6 years ago. And Trump got up, you remember, during the election, and he said, if Iran takes me out, then we're going to wipe Iran off the map. Like, all of this was telegraphed from the beginning. And really, you know who I blame, sadly? I blame the so-called plan trusters. I know that you were more bullish on Trump, but you acknowledged these were legitimate concerns. There were a lot of people that said, no,
stop. Because you've been righter than me on this, and I'm not always right. I'm right about 90% of the time. I've been very honest. So I'm gonna now mea culpa here, because when I'm wrong, I'm gonna say it publicly. I needed Trump to be real.
Queen, man.
And so much good stuff. The carbon tax, getting out of it, I could go for an hour. And it's still better than that, but you can't have lesser two evils. I have the Democrats trying to put me in prison. I just got subpoenaed again to defend. When I got Arctic frost, I got to go to Congress and provide my documents because they're going after, Jack Smith. So the Democrats are trying to put me in prison. They run show trials on HBO. So obviously, it's not that I'm being paid off by Trump. I've been persecuted for supporting him. So I want to now pay out on this. I want to save the country, secure the border, find the missing kids. I want to believe. But I'm not in a cult. I'm not delusional. So I was like, I'm critical. This is overall good. But and now I'm just like, now I'm having to think of the off-ramp. Nick, we've talked about this privately. You're targeted too. They're trying to kill you at your house. This is your name's Nick J. Fuentes. I'm Alex E. Jones. We're real people. We're under attack. So we're in the real world. You do what you think's right. I do what I think's right. You're not paid by people. I'm not. We're just our fans. So to me, I needed Trump as my lifeboat may not be perfect, but it's the lifeboat I've got. And I'm watching it sink by its own doing. Right. And so this is horrifying. And so, but I can't sign on to covering up Epstein. I can't sign on to World War III. And so that's why I tried to promote the optimism, because I fucking need this, man. Like, I want to fix the country. I want to turn it around. So it's not that I was delusional. I still hope we can turn it around, but I just... Sorry, go ahead. You get what I'm saying?
I get it. I get it. And listen, like I said, I don't think that everybody that supported Trump was being... dismissive about these concerns. I get it. We all wanted to believe. I was 18 years old when Trump ran in 2016. And I remember getting in fights with people. This is my whole life too. At 18 years old, I wore the MAGA hat at Boston University, one of the most liberal campuses in the country, and became a pariah on my college campus.
It's sad to see something you fought and bled for die.
Yeah, and that's my whole adult life. I know that's a huge part of your life also, and now we're witnessing it's totally unraveling. It's an utter and complete betrayal. It's heartbreaking in many ways.
And when I try to salvage it with people, I get attacked as a liberal, which is when these people doing that can't even find Iran on a fucking map.
Yeah, well, what's called for is for us to be sober-minded about the entire thing, because there's a lot of Trump haters.
I've been a realist the whole time, but was hoping, and now I'm just not even hoping. I'm just going to be a realist.
Yeah, I mean, and really, it's okay to have hope. I mean, we hope for a better future, but we got to be brutally honest about what this administration has become. It's like, I saw this game play out in the first term, and I remember I went to D.C. in 2018. I met with people from the admin, and me being like 20, I was like, is Q real? Is there a plan? Is there a 5-dimensional chess? Is this all like going to end in building a wall and so on? And they looked at each other and they laughed in my face and they said, bro, They said it is worse than you could possibly imagine.
Oh, I've been at the top of the Justice Department, and they literally they laughed at me, and they said, no, we mean well, but you have no idea how bad it is. The exact same thing.
God damn.
Yeah, and anyone will tell you that. Anyone from Trump 1, any of the good guys from Trump 1, any of the people in Trump 2, they will tell you the exact same thing. It is brutal.
And that's right. And I will not come on air and lie to my audience about the situation because I believe in them. If they know how desperate it is again, we will rise to the occasion.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to sell hopium.
You got to know.
It's just that clear.
Right? I mean,
and it's tough. I mean, it's tough because you're right. I mean, what other option do we have? That's really the question. People say, well, what else is there?
Well, that's it. I'm so sad to have to start turning loose of something that had so much potential.
Yeah,
it's
well,
like
not only that,
a grandma dying or something.
Well, it's sort of literally. I mean, he's kind of getting up there, you know. So it's very tragic and sad, and sadly, there's no alternative. I think it would be a little bit easier on all of us if there was any underclassmen here.
Exactly. I was about to say, there's no stable of new horses here.
Yeah, and I see that as a big failure of Trump because it should have been a whole new stable. It should have been a new generation of MAGA congressmen and senators. You know, like, where's our AOC? Well, they all got cannibalized. Madison Cawthorn got destroyed by the Republicans. Matt Gaetz got destroyed by the Republicans. Marjorie Greene so you had a few of them.
And
not as many as there should have been.
Gets vaporized by Susie Wiles.
Yep. Susie
By the way,
Wiles,
I confirmed 3 months ago with Flynn. He showed me the stuff. They're running opposition on hundreds of people. Flynn, myself, by the way, I told you this. They're running major opposition research on not the Democrats, but on us because they know we're true. That's another level of this. Like, how's that feel?
And that people have no idea, but that has always been the struggle inside the GOP. That is always how it's been, which is that the establishment is always at war with its own base. This happened with the Tea Party.
It's fratricide.
Other countries.
I don't even know that it's fratricide because these people aren't even like us. You know, these
I agree,
people
but like we're the real deal, and they're. What does the doppelganger always do? The thing or the body snatcher, it kills the real thing.
Exactly. Well, it's the invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah, so they're the body snatchers. You're right. It's not fratricide. The body snatchers want to get rid of the real one.
Ghouls.
Yeah, it's that skin suit. They take the organic mass movement, they try to mimic it as best as possible, and then they eliminate the actual movement. That was the Tea Party. I just talked to Michelle Malkin this week. And she said, you know, we ran the same playbook 20 years ago. We ran the same playbook in 2006 when we would campaign against the rhinos in favor. Yeah, I know you guys have little.
No. The crew's telling me about clips. I was listening to you. They were like, Alex, you're supposed to reveal this big White House thing, which will do the next segment. I was listening to you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so, you know, this has been a multi-generational struggle. You go back to the John Birchers and National Review. You could go back to the paleocons and the neocons, Pat Buchanan, Sam Francis, Joseph Sobran versus the neocons, Tea Party, right up through to the Trump movement. And I always sort of knew right around 2018, 2019, that the biggest gap is that Trump is not an institutionalist or an institutionalizer. He is actually not going to create the so-called movement conservatism of the Trump generation. Who's going to fill in the gaps? It's all the same people. It's all the same moneyed interests.
What you just said is beyond key. His strength is he's not institutional, but when he leaves, that's our greatest weakness because there's nothing staying. There's nothing left there.
Exactly. And that's why it's now backsliding. You know, the personnel, there is no cadre of radical Trump supporters to fill up this White House. He still has to rely on the old guard.
Let's look at Iran in a good way, a bad way. They've got even more radicals below, so they knock out the elite. It doesn't matter. They just get stronger. With us, there's no second bench.
Well, yeah, there's no bench at all. Trump said it himself today. He said, I'm MAGA, not Tucker, not Megyn Kelly. He said, it's just me. And you go, really? It's not Tucker. It's not Marjorie. It's not Thomas Massey. It's just you and your war with Iran and your Epstein files.
Real thinker, I've told you probably earlier, Nick, I respect you. Disagree with something you say, but you're a leader. You care. I'm like, you're the future, Nick. We're counting on you. A real leader immediately recognizes younger bulls that are going to lead the people in the future. That's what a tribal leader does. With Trump, it's this ego thing where anybody else being strong is bad. And as he gets older, it gets worse. It's sick.
You're right. That's like a boomer thing. That's the baby boomers, or he's 1946. This is like a baby boomer thing. They will not like let us have anything. They're hoarding the wealth. They're hoarding these like fiefdoms. You're right. It is an ego thing. And at the end of the day, that is really his issue. Nobody wants to admit it. It's actually brave of you to say that because that's a huge thing. A lot of people say, oh, it's his advisors. He's getting bad advice. It's his personnel. It's him.
No,
It's
I said
always
back in
been
March,
him.
it's him coming up, Epstein. All because he loves the power of protecting all these scumbags. He's not involved. He loves the power over them. He's not even in the blackmail. He's just in general, I'll take care of it. Bullshit, you will, man. And that's my concern is how do I not go totally psychotic and go all out anti-Trump because I still want to get Republicans elected because they're better. That's a real needle to thread here. That's what I'm trying to do, Nick.
It's tough. Like you said, I mean, because we're also trying to stay out of jail. You know, we're literally between a rock and a hard place. The Democrats want to kill us and flood the country with immigrants. The Republicans want to send us to die for Israel. So you go, okay, well, I mean, it's really hard to win here.
Todd Blanche, let me tell you, to be clear. They're trying to figure out how to put several hundred of us, just confirmed insiders, Flynn, they told Flynn, they're trying to put us in jail, bro. We don't have 3 years anymore. We have Todd Blanche trying to do it now.
Under what pretext?
They just like they opened a national security investigation under Obama in 2013. They got the FBI. We know because the FBI doesn't like it. As bad as they are, they're like, what is this? Like, really? They got jihadis, sleeper cells. They are literally over 200 people. They have FBI, national security dragnets going on us right now. When I said opposition research, that's just the name of it. No. The Republican Party is now looking at all of us that have any soul, and they see us as the enemy.
We got to get out of Dodge, man. I don't know what country you're dropping in at, but that's the saddest part. You know, the whole country's coming down. The GOP's coming down. It's hard to kind of figure out what that next move is. That's why, for me, I keep my options open.
Used to head up the Army and then the Defense Intelligence. He got confirmed. He won't give me classified stuff, but they're like, sir, they got a whole opposition thing to take us down, and you're at the top. And they say it's a bunch of names. And he's like, so, yeah, no, they're literally not worried about Democrats. They're not going to put them in jail. They're literally worried about loyal Americans. And to the Pentagon's credit, they're like, this is bullshit. Like, I've had all these Delta Force current guys, all of them call me, thank you, we're not going to go along with this. They're all freaking out, which is the good news. They have the Pentagon, bro, tasked to spy on us as the enemy when we're the real Americans. I mean, imagine the wake-up call in Tampa that they're like, we're not tasked for Muslims, we're tasked for Nick Fuentes and General Flynn and Alex Jones. Yeah, just give you that newsflash.
Yeah, well, that's the story of the admin, you know. Bill Clinton is being protected, Hillary, Obama, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's always this cope, like, well, you know, here's how Trump can still win.
Here's why you're right, because we learned this the last 60 days. I told you this on the phone. I don't know if it got through because I talk fast. Dude, we're the focus because they know we're not sellouts. They're like, looking, we got it all. We got Trump under control. Who will block us? And they're literally getting rid of Ed Martin, creating fouls on us. And they're pissed because there's nothing there. What, like your most decadent action is what, getting a pizza, right? That's your big party. Exactly, me too. I don't mean that's a pedophile thing. I mean, like you're getting a steak or whatever. They literally, though, are enraged because they can't find anything on us. They won't charge the Muslims. They won't charge the Somalis stealing billions. But literally, the eye of the White House is on us because they're worried we'll influence Trump.
That's how it's always been. You know, the GOP has always been cannibalizing the authentic base. That's just it. And that's why I've always said the GOP is really our biggest enemy. It's not even the Democrats, because at least the Democrats are the devil, you know, and you know that they're your enemy. But it's always these Republicans. They say, we're going to take the fight, hold the line, all this. And then they always turn the cannons inward and shoot at their own people. That has always been the story. So, you know, I tell my followers, take your own side. The GOP is not looking out for you. They're not fighting your enemies. They're not securing advantages for you.
America first in our America survival. In fact, I'm going to start the America Survival Party. America first is great. America only. How about America Survival? We need to understand it's up to us. Nobody's coming to save us.
And that's what people got to get through their heads is it's not going to be a top-down thing. It's going to be incumbent on all of us to get involved. Getting involved in government, getting involved in the universities and the private sector because, obviously we tried it with Trump. People say you're not going to vote your way out of this. Surely we're not going to solve it just by electing the right president and expecting everything to flow from the top down. It doesn't work that way.
Well said, bro. Well said.
I agree with you completely. Excellent, it's a shame because we had an opportunity here. Like you said, we really had a major opportunity. Trump won the popular vote, for crying out loud, on a platform of mass deportations and everything. And what it has secured is a corporate tax cut for the rich, a war for Israel, Epstein cover-up. You go, okay, so what are we doing here? What does it profit us actually to even participate in the charade? So I'm interested in a revolutionary change or nothing at all. And I know a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people think that's extreme, and they remind me, yeah, well, if the Democrats get in, then this, that, and the other. I'm interested in either we get the change or we don't. But if the Republicans are marginally...
has gotten us here.
Right.
And I respect your stuff is, super accurate, so I respect accuracy. We should still try to think of leverage points, because Trump did shut up when he kept saying vaccines are great with Bill O'Reilly and stuff until a few years ago, and he finally shut up and brought in Kennedy. They've done some good. He never admits guilt, but sometimes he'll back off. I think we shouldn't give up yet. How do we put pressure on Trump to pull out of this insanity? Because we got to try, even if it's impossible.
I mean, the most you could do is express your dissatisfaction. I don't know that there's going to be a 1 million man march anytime soon. I think the war is actually, they say it's not that popular, but I think people are apathetic. So what do you do to pressure Trump? I mean, you can call your congressman, and your congressman can take it up with Mike Johnson or something. But I think all we could do is really buckle up, and we could wait for this to wash over us. I think at the minimum, you just make it clear we're not on board. I mean, burn your MAGA hats. I've tried it. I went out to a little bit to Michigan in 24 to try to get people not to vote and try to get some attention. We bombarded True Social. We bombarded Twitter. It didn't do any good. They're not listening.
Said then, I want to get good Republicans elected. I'm doing this to get their attention. And they spun it. You were actually trying to stop votes. I got some horrible news for radio listeners. TV viewers just saw it. Just like I said at the start of the show, Trump has now announced forever war. No, we're not talking about a Hollywood movie with Tom Cruise. We're talking about, he just said 1984 forever war. Reuters. They're printing the article now. What the hell is that, Nick Fuentes? I mean, this is just, it's like Trump is an old barn burning down in live time.
Yeah, it's a sight to behold, especially for us. I think that a lot of people got red-pilled after the pandemic. Maybe they don't realize the gravity of this, but this is just like, what else is there even to say? I mean, at this point, this is the same guy that came down the escalator and said the war in Iraq was a big mistake. We should have never been there. We knew they had no weapons of mass destruction. And now he says we're fighting a forever war against Iran for regime change. You just have to shake your head, and you wonder how people are still on board. That's honestly the worst part, is you go on Twitter and people are still making excuses. They say, oh, it's about China. Well, we'll wait until there's boots on the ground. You go, really? I mean, I don't know what people need to see for them to realize that we got tricked, we got betrayed. Now we need to try something else. But yeah, it's shocking to hear these things. He goes, I don't have the yips about boots on the ground. You don't have the yips. We're going to deploy to the Middle East again? Seriously? And then they say, we can go indefinitely. We're going to fight forever. Now, in fairness, I think that when he says that, that is rhetoric. And that
all of this just sounds strong. But the point is, it's antithetical to what he ran on.
Right.
I mean, because that's what the Pentagon wants, is a 20-year war like Afghanistan that's just a big moneymaker.
It is antithetical. And here's the thing. Trump can gesture and bluff all he wants, but we are in the war and we're getting drawn in. So the problem with those kinds of things is, the Pentagon is going to take that and run with it. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Well, yeah, let's be clear. Let's go to break and talk about this. It just blew me away. I mean, the Iranians lost 2 million people. That's World War I numbers in the proxy war with Iraq against Iran backed by us. These people do not fuck around. Yeah, a bunch of high school and college kids are out running around protesting. They're not going to kill people, folks. The Muslims are willing to do it. And they're not the retards like the other Muslims. We'll be right back. So there's a lot of different types of people in the world, but you can really break them into 3 or 4 groups. There's a lot of subgroups, but there's people that are just zombies, NPCs, and don't care. There's people that calculate whatever the current power structure is and go along with that. And then there's people that do what's right and don't think about the consequences because it's spiritual ingrained in them to do the right thing. They got a 4th group that are good but are scared to tell the truth. And you can add a lot of other groups, subgroups to that. But people always ask who pays you, who does this. I sell you stuff straight up, supplements, books, T-shirts, whatever. It's all great stuff. But I love the truth. I love humanity. I am a good person. My ancestors were good. I never really thought about talking older about like measuring up to them. I never really talked about my ancestors because it's like I'm going to live off them, but it's ridiculous. I'm all the way back to William the Conqueror and the old kings of England. And, the inventor of the stock exchange and the Greshams, just on my mom's side. And then they all got kicked out, so they went to the New World, do their own deal, and the Mayflower on my dad's side, all of it. But I'm doing this myself. This is me. This is my time. Alex Jones did this with you. So I don't live in some class thing where it's off my name. This is a meritocracy. In the meritocracy, I've kicked some ass. And then I look at people in the political system, left, right, you name it, that just go with what will get them ahead, but they don't think about the 2nd, 3rd, 4th order of things. Well, I'll tell you the 6th or 7th order. And in historical mathematics and political equations, politics is math. You got it all together. Doing what's right and not thinking about all the different permutations is the most sophisticated thing and the most powerful always. So I can think through all these levels and get lost in it for hours and do incredible things consciously. But just being good and doing what's right, I always see God's plan in the end was the most advanced thinking. And Nick, I think it's important to state that because I can tell, and I know you get ready for your show. I've seen you ready for it here. You're just reading, researching. Nobody's telling you what to say. There's no handler. When they've sued me, the Democrats and their big law firms, they're always like, who's the boss? Where's the money? Who tells you what to say? They cannot believe for years till they depose the whole crew. Like, who tells you what to say? They don't even get, like, this is real because for them, they're slaves. It's all handed down to them, every fucking word they say. So speak to authenticity. You say what you want about Nick Fuentes. You are your own man. You're not a fed. You're not controlled. You're your own 26, 27, 28, whatever it is now, young man. And that very idea threatens them that there's so much native talent that God gave us through our species.
Well, that's the thing. They're now trying to reverse engineer me. In the past year, they saw my clips go viral. They saw the show blow up. And now they're all trying to reverse engineer. And they want to say, well, what is the secret ingredient? Why are people listening to this guy? And in many ways, I'm sure they did the same with you.
It's authenticity and native intelligence.
Well, they try to characterize it and they say, well, it's because they're edgelording or they're offering something sensational or it's all different types of things. And they're always looking at it on the cosmetic level. But what they're missing is that we are real and people can tell. We are trying to do our best. We are trying to tell the truth. We are guided by our conscience, and people can pick up on that. You're a live streamer in a sense. You're on radio. I'm more of like I guess we're both in live streaming.
No, I've been live streaming since it started, yeah.
But you can't hide. You can't hide on a live stream. When you do a show for 3 hours a day, every day for 20 years, and I've done it for 10 years, there's nowhere to hide on that. Eventually people can
ask, how do you have energy? Because they got to calculate everything in 2 minutes. No, the answer is I don't calculate how I look. I already know what's true. Exactly. There's no energy to bullshit when you're on the air 4 hours a day.
Exactly. There's no pretense. There's no facade. There's nothing like that. And that's what people like. People are sick of being lied to. People are kind of dumb, but they can tell when they're being lied to sometimes. And I think that the basis of our appeal, or at least the reason why we have a fanatical following,
even if I'm
people
wrong,
that follow us, really follow us, is because there is that connection. They're tapped into the same thing that we are.
I think you're right. Overall, you're right. But the big thing is you're right. You've been right like 99% of the time, Nick. That's why they do. I mean, sure,
It's
your
that
jokes
too.
are funny. You know, you're a good-looking guy. You're witty. I edgelord too. It's fun, but it's unscripted. But at the end of the day, it's being right. They wouldn't. You would not be successful if you were not correct. That's the final ingredient: is being right. That's what they don't like.
It's
the bad
true.
guys hate the fact that we're smart, we figured them out, and we're right, and they know
They
it.
don't care.
And if people listen to us, they'll learn how we know. We tell them the secrets, how we know it, and we tell them it's game over. That's why I keep harping. Look how accurate I am. I said Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. I bet there's a sleeper cell Muslim attack, and I bet it happens tonight. Probably Austin, Texas, or Dallas, or Houston. It happened. It just, if people ask, how did I know that? It's just, I can just see all the pieces.
You're right. It's the truth. It's fundamentally, it's the truth. And that's our biggest secret weapon, I think, that we have.
So where does this go forward? I want to play a few clips of the Zionist Greater Israel. Anything you want to say, just say it now. Because I've been asked the questions. You're very nice. I've told you be aggressive like you're on your own show. You're very, very deferential on mine. Give us 10 minutes of just however long you want. Nick Fuentes Unleashed.
You can see he's dying.
Nick Fuentes Unleashed. Well, to me, this entire debacle with Iran, it has to go somewhere. Like, I'm with you when you say, how do we pressure Trump to stop? How do we, although I am pessimistic that we can get Trump to change course, this does have to give way to something. It does have to generate action. And I continue to believe that the only action that is, really going to work, that is possible, is that we have to switch up the voting. I really believe that. Like, my playbook right now, when I look at this Iran thing, all this does is make me more confident that I was right in 24.
Listen,
Because
I
my
love
pitch in
Gavin
24.
McInnes, but he said something yesterday very profound. He goes, Trump's got us by the balls. I'm his bitch, basically. Well, I don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, fuck no.
Exactly. So you need options. You don't want to be somebody's bitch. You need options. You need to be able to walk away from the table. And what allows you to walk away from the table is if you have another option. You have somebody else to go to.
And the Republican Party is like a woman, and I don't want to be mean to women, but it's just funny. When you tell a woman, I'm done, you're not in charge, they kiss your ass. As soon as you kiss their ass, you're in the doghouse.
Yep. Yeah, that's a weird psychology. It's any negotiation. Any negotiation is like that. It's all a power dynamic. It's all about, the coincidence of wants. And so they want our votes. We want them to work for us. If they don't work for us, we can't give them our votes. And if we're not going to give them our votes, well, we should just throw them to the other side.
How obvious is it with Israel? I get Israel swinging its dick around to piss everybody off. But what about Israel bragging they run us here domestically? That's not good. I mean, what's the chutzpah point?
Yeah, so I think that Tucker might be onto something when he says that the reason they do this is because they want actually to bait and incite people to freak out. And there's sort of like a subtle distinction here. Then certain groups can say, oh, there's all this anti-Semitism, and people usually stop there. But you got to consider the Jewry in Israel is distinct, although related to the Jewry in America. The Jews in Israel, I think their desire is to see the American Jews move there. I think their desire is to see American.
Yeah, they see themselves as the Übermenschen.
Yes. And so I think it is in their interest to generate Jewish nationalism. And Jewish nationalism is a response to anti-Semitism.
That's
so
why
they
Israel
can put out all
bombed
this stuff.
Baghdad, bombed Madrid in the 50s to make Jews, and blamed it on communists to make them move to Israel.
Exactly. And similarly in America, all the so-called anti-Semitism is pushing the American Jewish community into the arms of Israel, either moving there or supporting them or, getting involved in activism. So I think to the extent that there's a play there, I think that's pretty clearly what it is. There's a symbiotic relationship.
Well, look at how Israel funds Al-Qaeda, funds Hamas, creates them, all that, the elements running it. And I'm not saying do this because I couldn't do it either, and the Muslims, obviously, on average, are so emotional, so it's impossible. But if they Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King them or Jesus Christ them, Jesus knew what to do. Imagine if no one fought Israel and everybody just stopped. Well, then Israel would just stage stuff and say they did it. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They would just blow stuff up and say they did it. I mean, but what if you could get everybody to stop fighting Israel? That would be the key to shutting it down.
See, I don't know if that's the case. If it's just a matter of getting them to stop fighting, I think that
no, but you get what I'm saying. They fund the radical Muslims to get attacked,
right?
And stood down on October 7th. Obviously, it's academic what I'm saying. It's not going to happen,
right? Yeah, I think the solution is that we need a movement that is actually restraining Israel. Like it needs to go further in the sense that
that shows you what they're scared of. They got 20 states or 23 to pass laws that if your city condemns Israel and genocide, they don't get state funds. That's unconstitutional. Exactly. They're really worried about boycotts.
Well, and in particular in the national security apparatus, they don't want anybody in the National Security Council or the Pentagon that is going to tell the president, you need to restrain Israel, because they're driving the conflict. I said it on my show the other night. If it was up to Washington and Tehran, they would have made a deal because it's in both of their interest and there is enough overlap there. It is Israel that doesn't want the peace. So what's the answer? The United States needs to use its leverage over Israel and say, look, we pay for your military. We protect you from sanctions and from the UN and the rest of it. You have to do what we say. You have to listen to us. You're not going to go into Iran alone. You're not going to sabotage our diplomacy. You're not going to go out there with these provocative statements and threaten Iran while we're trying to make a deal. And if you wanted to actually have peace, if Tehran and Washington were to make a deal, that is the necessary step. As a matter of fact, that's the only step.
Because I said before you came on, I was going to say this and I didn't. Maybe I'll shoot a special report today because I have a lot of sources. I don't want to give them up. But a lot of it came out in the newsletter, so I can say it now. Trump's doing face saving right now, saying, no, I made Israel attack first. Well, the Pentagon's like, no, we didn't want to attack during the day. And Rubio's like, yeah, they did it. Sorry. They're all freaked out about this. I know the chairman told him privately, he came on the news, this is a bad idea, don't do it. We'll follow your order, though, sir. But here's 70% bad options. We say don't do it. Then I confirm with others that Israel basically, Trump was like leaning on not doing the attack, so they did this. Now Trump is face saving because he wants to obviously do that, and that Trump got really pissed off. There's photos of him screaming at Hegseth, who I think overall is a good guy, but the bottom line is that I've confirmed that Israel is basically in control of our foreign policy by our own posture to be allied with them, and that is uncontrovertible. Because now they're trying to do damage control. Oh, no, Trump gave the order. No, our very doctrine is if Israel's attacked, we attack. And so thank God Russia's not following its agreement with Iran or China, or we'd be in war with them right now. So it is a fact. And then the neocons, the Israel lobbies, all over the internet attacking anybody that points this out and tries to say it's not the case. Well, Netanyahu brags about it. So, I mean, that's the big news. I'm not even defending Trump. It actually makes him worse. That it is now literally true. What I claimed, well, I wanted to claim wasn't true because I don't want to believe it. That Trump is an errand boy of Israel. And how do we deal with that, Nick Fuentes?
Well, if Trump is an errand boy for Israel, then you got to shut down his government. And that means you got to go into the midterms and you got to get the Democrats in. And the Democrats hopefully will impede the administration. That's what they're going to do. They're going to launch investigations, subpoenas, select committee.
Qatar and Turkey are nourishing
with Turkey to overthrow
the
Syria
Islamic Brotherhood monster that is growing and eventually might become as dangerous as the one created by Iran. Turkey and Qatar are gaining influence not only in Syria, but also in Gaza, through the front door.
If Israel just stopped now.
And everywhere, and trying to create a new
they've won, they can be successful. They're not going to stop.
Turkey is trying to flip Saudi Arabia against us and establish a hostile Sunni axis with nuclear Pakistan.
You've appealed to Genesis. Genesis 15 says it's Abram, it's pre-Abraham, it's Abram, receives from God the news that his descendants will inherit the land. And you tell me as the theologian if I'm getting this wrong, but from the Euphrates to the Nile. I think that's right. And that would include like basically the entire Middle East. That would be the Levant. So that would be Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. It would also be big parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It would be, I mean,
I'm not sure it would go that far. I mean, it would be a big piece of land, but here's the point.
It would be a lot of places that are now countries.
I love how you wrote him in. We'll just take most of it.
Area that we're talking about now.
Fuck this.
Israel is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. Crazy. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism. I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis. You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Play that again. Back it up 10 seconds. So they were. Here's the deal. I can do the math. I can talk for 10 hours on this. They attacked Saudi Arabia, Jordan, all these places. I mean, we already had Obama put radicals in to take over Egypt. I mean, this is cuckoo town.
Thanks, guys.
Play it again. He's like, yeah, they can take it all. They will take it all. And we're supposed to be the muscle for this, folks. Here it is.
Hook a brother up with a
Because you're appealing to Genesis. You're saying that's the original deed.
Smash that like.
It would be fine if they took it all.
This is psychotic. Man.
But you want us to do it, Nick Fuentes.
That's exactly right. And it doesn't stop everybody thought it would stop in Iran. And now they say, well, we're going to take out Erdogan and so on. And it just goes to show that's their end game, is they want to control the entire region. They want no rivals. And that's why they took out Iraq, Syria, Iran. And now what's actually funny, in their quest to destroy Iran, they've actually rallied everybody against them. So Saudi Arabia was getting ready to join the Abraham Accords in 2023 when October 7th happened, and then that derailed the process. Now the Saudis are working with Pakistan on a mutual defense pact. They're bringing Turkey into it. There is actually an emerging axis that is literally being built.
Israel blames Iran when Saudi Arabia is clear. It's what Israel did.
Right. Oh, yeah, of course. It's always Iran. It's always, then it'll be Erdogan in Syria. And it's funny because they took out Syria. Now they're worried that Erdogan is going to fill the power vacuum that they created. So
and they worked with him tacitly to take down Assad.
Right. Exactly. So
we got 45 seconds left. Are you gonna do a show tonight?
I'll be doing a show tonight, yes.
When do I get to go on your show? I want to come on.
That would be sick.
Soon. See, we don't have I don't have a big studio like yours. I have a small studio. I don't have enough room.
You got to start doing them.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. I just like to hear myself talk more. I guess.
No, I get it. It's easy. Hey, listen, you're dead on. I want to try to figure this out. Nick Fuentes on Rumble. Nick J. Fuentes. Thank you so much. I hope you're wrong that Trump's unsalvageable, but we're about to find out. Thank you so much for being with us. Powerful hour and 45 minutes.
Thank you for having me.
Shit. Man, I didn't realize it was going to end there. But, it's been like 4 hours. I'm probably going to call it the stream for the evening. I do plan to stream this weekend, though, however. Probably tomorrow, actually. I'm going to try and do it tomorrow night. Probably 80% chance I'll do it tomorrow night. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, and if you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and give it a smash if you would. But hope you all have a good evening. Enjoy your week.